Hello, everyone. Okay, a little late on this, but still, before it happens, this is a dedicated video for Saturn coming into Aries, leaving Pisces after 2.5 years and stepping into Aries. So, just a quick summary, and then I will go into each sign and how it is affected. I have put up some dates in the past that we've had Saturn in Aries, and if you're old enough, you can check these dates, and maybe it'll trigger a memory as to what obstacles and challenges you had and eventually overcame. Of course, the theme would be that. However, it might be a little different as the planets this time around are doing other things, are in other signs. So Saturn takes 2.5 years to transit each sign, and as I said, it has been transiting Pisces since 2023, March 2023, and this now it's going to go into Aries and will be there until 2028. Um, and I just wanted to explain one thing is Saturn this time is actually coming in early into Aries, as Neptune has just, for the past month, entered Aries, and which is in contrast to when Neptune entered Aries back in 2012 and was alone I'm sorry, Neptune entered Pisces back in 2012 and was alone, left to his devices in Pisces until 12 years later in 2023 when Saturn came into Pisces with some reality checks. So, and you might, think, well, what do you mean by reality checks? So let me explain. Neptune and Saturn are completely different energies, contrasting energies. Neptune is the god of the ocean. He builds this desire, this yearning, an idealism of whatever sign he's transiting, and obviously, whatever sign that is will be affecting that area of your life. So, for example, for an Aries, Neptune entered Pisces, and Pisces would be an Aries 12th hidden house, and the house of the psyche. And why I'm saying it, well, I think it's a good thing that Saturn is coming in so early on when Neptune has just left Pisces and entered Aries, because right off the bat, from the beginning, we will have reality checks instead of waiting like we did last time, 12 years before we got reality checks. Because as I will continue, Neptune, not only builds these yearnings and idealism we have, but Neptune softens the edges. He rules the oceans, mists, fogs, the siren's call. He rules the oil industry, any types of liquids, entertainment industry, the music industry, makeups, perfumes, dreams, and it gives you rose-colored glasses and washes away any boundaries that there should be. Again, because in that certain area of your life, you might have been too pessimistic, maybe, and he's trying to show you the other side of that, which is a good thing, and it feels like an escapism. Neptune seems like a vacation, and especially when he was in Pisces, his home sign, very strong. It's a feel good situation. But again, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. So for Virgos, Neptune in Pisces was in their seventh house of commitments. And you can ask any Virgo, most Virgos had non-committal partners, where it was almost at hand and just kept slipping away from them, or boundary issues with like Sagittarians who had Neptune in Pisces, their fourth house of home, family, and their safe space. And that also, with no boundaries, can be a dangerous thing. And that's when Saturn came in March 2023, and that vacation, that idealism, that yearning, the feeling of being lost at sea, just searching for the siren's call and never being able to reach that destination. Saturn finally came in and said, threw us an anchor and pulled us back to shore, and started putting in boundary lines. Saturn is Father Time. He rules, restrictions, constrictions, challenges, He is the teacher, the taskmaster, very the strict parent, the not impatient, I would say patient boss, but still the boss, the authority. And Saturn does not like breaking the rules or lies. Anything under Saturn's purview in that area of your life that he's transiting, deceits, lies, and deceptions um, will be tackled. The truth will come out on them. And I myself call Saturn the party pooper, but Saturn is actually very, very beneficial. He is the If you take away anything, the one thing I want you to take away from with Saturn is he builds really strong foundations that cannot be swept away by the ocean or shifting sands. So whatever castle in the sky that Neptune, has is promising you, or has taken you to, Saturn doesn't come in and say, no, forget it, it's not yours. On the contrary, Saturn will be saying, okay, let's get you that castle in the sky, but let's keep it. How do you keep a castle in the sky from shifting away, from crumbling out under shifting sands, from being washed out to the sea? What you need is strong foundations. Let's crystallize that yearning. Let's materialize those ideals. So that's how Saturn is beneficial. Saturn rules the very studious Capricorn, pragmatic Capricorn. Capricorn rules tradition and the traditional, government structures, law enforcement, military. Capricorn is a very methodical social climber, very, very careful with each step it takes. So if you have ever seen a goat scaling a steep cliff, and can never be knocked off, it's because they are very cautious with every step they take. And that's a Capricorn. And they're usually very successful in life. But the one thing Capricorn is famous, ultra famous for, is their steely patience, their steely patience. And that's why they're reliable. And Saturn rules Capricorn. So think of those themes as well. So those are the two contrasts between Saturn and Neptune. And now we've enjoyed Neptune and Aries for the past month. So we've had this yearning, this desire, that we have been either daydreaming about, or taking a vacation on. So for Sagittarius, Aries is their fifth house of love, romance, children, creativity, gambling, and pets. So there's been either a very lovely dayscape, vacationscape, escape, in regards to those areas of their life, as well as they may have this idealism of how a lover should be, or a romance should be, or how their child should be. And there might have, of course, when you daydream, it's lucid, it's flowing, so there may be no boundaries here. And you may be putting a romance, a lover, on a pedestal, or even, maybe not disciplining a child, as Neptune is blurring those hard edges of maybe a child getting out of hand. Or it might be, a Sagittarian wants to have a baby, let's say a child, and is dreaming for that, yearning for that, because of Neptune's entrance of Aries. And you might have this image of being, a mother or whatever. So now we've enjoyed that, like I said, for the past month. And in a few days, Saturn will be entering Aries and will be, again, I call him the party pooper, but he's not going to be spoiling your party, but he'll come in and wipe that mist, that fog off your glasses, so you can see clearly, and tell you, okay, you have this desire, you have this idealism. Okay, let's manifest that for you. Let's crystallize that for you. Let's bring it to fruition. And in order to do that, you need these boundaries, you need these rules, you need these tools, you need this anchor, because as Neptune will drag you out into the foggy ocean with the sirens calling to you, Saturn will be saying, okay, that's fine. Give it this much time, but after that, you have to wake up to reality. Here's the anchor. Throw the anchor so you don't get lost at sea. Things like that. And it will be these 2.5 years in the beginning, and then Saturn will, of course, leave you alone with Neptune. But now you have tools. It's a much better situation than what we had with Neptune and Pisces. And if I didn't mention that, at the sake of repeating myself, Pisces is Neptune's home sign, so he was quite powerful in Pisces. And yeah, many of us got burned with Neptune in Pisces before Saturn came in. In any case, so let's discuss. I've already discussed what Neptune's energies are, and I've already discussed what Saturn's energies are. Now, let's look at Aries, and let's explain that a little bit. So Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and it rules the first house of the image, and I'll get into that a little bit more. Aries modality is a cardinal sign. Aries element is fire. The ruler of Aries is Mars, the god of war. And just a little bit on that is that Mars is fearless, absolutely fearless and relentless. I give the example of Mars asks you, "What do you want?" And you'll say, "I want that." And Mars will say, let's go get that for you. And he doesn't care if it's a fire breathing dragon in front of him or a little baby. He'll just mash right on through because he's fearless. And it is the energy, the drive, definitely the drive, the relentless drive of getting what you want is what Mars is, and he is the ruler of Aries. Aries season is spring. The metal for Aries is iron, steely iron. Stone is diamond, lucky Aries, and their color is red. The energy is masculine. Even if you're a female, there's a masculine energy for Aries. And Aries rules the anatomy of the head, face, brain, teeth, tongue, hair, arteries, blood pressure. But mostly it's all about the head. If in Gemini can out talk anyone, and Aries can outthink anyone. And Aries' motto is "Me first." They are born and bred, or born and raised to be the first, to excel at new things, to be fearless, to be competitive. Um, they're usually either the first child or the baby of the family. And Aries usually are their influence comes from the mother. And a lot of you will be like, no, my mother was such a sweetheart. It was my father that was, a firebrand or what have you. I understand that. But with Aries, it usually is, yes, the mother who is, let's say, not really weak, but usually is a very respected or notable mother, wife, and is follows tradition and what have you. But is usually there's usually a family dynamic with an Aries parents, not parents that are Aries, but parents of an Aries that is usually contentious, and usually the mother is. Again, for lack of a better word, seems weak maybe, or submissive or something. Whereas Aries grows up trying to defend the mother, being the protector and the defender of the mother. Aries children are always trying to right the injustice to their family, and for most of them, it's trying to right the injustice to their mother. That's why they're very, very compassionate, and they're the fighters for the underdog. They're the consumer advocates. They're the political advocates. They are very happy, positive peacemakers, believe it or not. But they do feel misunderstood sometimes, as many people will say they're leaders. And a lot of Aries will be like, "No, I'm not a leader." But when we say leaders, we're saying the pioneers. They're fearless and born to be fiercely independent and raised to be competitive and go-getters, because pioneers need to be that. They need to be selfish. They need to be fearless in order to break new ground. So that's maybe the misunderstanding that might come in. They might feel that they're unrelatable, and that's Again, only because Aries, it's said to be they have very busy and bright daytime lives, but lonely nights, and that doesn't say that they don't have partners. They do, but there's this thing that with Aries that they can only do what is needed to achieve something, um, and they will feel weighed down if somebody tries to help. So they do absolutely work within rules or like rules, but they don't like to follow them because, again, as a pioneer breaking new grounds, sometimes rules have to go out the window. And with bringing somebody along as a helper or what have you, yes, fine, but stay behind me. Um, that's the motto of the warrior. Um, and that's why they may be unrelatable. They're very complicated, deep thinkers. Like I said, they think really fast, and you can't really um, match their brain in as far as that. Um, and they will butt heads with anyone um, trying to dominate them, or anyone trying to plan their moves. They just cannot be bothered with that. So they are. They're a fire sign, so they are a firebrand. They can be, and like I mentioned, fiercely competitive, um, and because that is their nature. Yes, they are argumentative. They're fighters. Some Aries just love to fight just for the fun of it. Again, I'm not saying all, but that is the general theme. And remember, you are not just your sun sign. There's the moon. The moon rules our emotions, and other factors are involved. But yes, Aries are very competitive. They're fighters. They're firebrands, um, hot-headed individuals. Um, so there's a lot more regarding Aries, but I'll just mention that when I go into each sign. And obviously, I'll start with Aries. But the other thing about Aries is, which is going to be true for all signs experiencing Saturn in Aries, is Aries rules the first house of the image, profile, physical appearance, wardrobe, which includes uniforms, armor, and equipment. It can relate to attitude, um, because that's what people see for. So first impressions, a name, hair, face, mask, body, body height, weight, your brand, picture, your portrait, avatar, social media profile, avatar or brand, your makeup, trinkets, and all that. Some negative, and I'm doing air quotes negative, personality of an Aries is they really do fear failure. That is not an option for an Aries, and they unless they have hidden sensitivities. They are thrill seekers. That can be good and can be bad. Salt and liquor is bad for an Aries, again, because they're all about the arteries, blood pressure, and all that. And they perceiving them as weak or a victim is a no-no. Don't do that. They will lash out. And aggression, again, that need to dominate. Impatience. So if you remember what I said about Saturn and Capricorn, steely patience, that's going to be one of the challenges. They're combative. Anger just flares up with frustration, but they're that quick to cool down. They can be extremely jealous, but they can drop you like a hot potato. Um, and an Aries motto is me first. So they might seem selfish. And again, that's a good thing for a pioneer. They need to be that way. But, that's one thing that Saturn will try to be working on. The other motto I like about an Aries is, and I think it encompasses an Aries better, is I don't have time to explain it to you. They're very busy uh, creatures. Um, and they're because Saturn has been in Pisces, which is their 12th hidden house, their psyche. They're actually very creative, um, and I'll explain that more when I discuss the Saturn Aries for Aries. And for Saturn, going through this sign, the first year is really the hardest. The second year you build up, and then the point five year is when it's easy peasy and you mesh everything together. So that's the intro. Now I am going to start with each and to discuss how it will affect each sign. And I will start with Aries. Hi, Aries. Okay, yours is going to be, it's going to seem it's short because I'm just going to describe what you'll be encountering with Saturn being in your sign. But it actually, the intro is all about you. So you'll really want to listen to that because that gives you a lot of background information. But this will just be in regards to what you will be experiencing with Saturn transiting your sign. Obviously, it's going to be you are the first sign of the zodiac and you do rule the first house of the image, and this will be a repeat of these few sentences will be a repeat of the intro, but just to get you started, it's you rule the first house of image, profile, physical appearance, your wardrobe, so that would include your uniform, armor, equipment, and other wardrobes. uh, Attitude, definitely, because that's what people experience when they see you or talk to you. So first impression as well, your name, your hair, face, the mask, or a mask, body height, weight, your brand, your pictures, makeup and trinkets, shoes, um, and social media like an avatar, or a profile, and all that. So that is all going to be um, affected. And what what you'll experience is what you have um, naturally have been doing that comes easy to you, that is going to be restricted somehow. So even your driving force, your relentless, fearless attitude, that is going to be challenged by Saturn. And it can be a whole myriad of scenarios that you'll be challenged, and that because you are a pioneer, a leader. Again, many Aries hate when we say that, but you're a leader in the sense of breaking ground, the pioneer, going out there before anybody else, battling any demons and monsters, or the consumer advocate, the hero, the warrior. The way you have been doing that, Saturn will start to slow that down, um, and and make you question the way that you do go forward. Saturn doesn't hate you. What Saturn is trying to do is build a strong foundation so that people cannot knock you off your, a pedestal that you're trying to reach. Saturn rules studious and steely patience, Capricorn. So I've again explained that in the intro, and that's what Saturn will be trying to incorporate in your attitude, in again the way that you normally do things. You're going to start questioning that, um, and Saturn is different to Pluto. Pluto. So just to give you an idea, Pluto destroys, uh, deconstructs, demolishes everything so that he can transform, Phoenix, rising from the ashes. That's what Pluto does. He invites destruction. Saturn is a mini me of Pluto, but not as intense. So think of Saturn as um, a scaffolding, not destroying the building, but repairing it through like having a scaffolding. So you're going to be limited within that scaffolding to rebuild. So the first year is going to be um, uh, repairing that. And through challenges, restrictions, obstacles, constrictions, boundaries, he's going to be putting up the boundaries. And what you have to do is work within those rules and boundaries. It will no longer be, the motto of an Aries is me first, but I actually like the motto for an Aries: I don't have time to explain it to you. And Saturn will be saying, no, you're going to have to make time to explain it. So you're going to have to work within these boundaries, rules, and restrictions. And it's a good thing it's Saturn, not Pluto. It's a good thing it's a scaffolding type of a deal because that is your essence. You are ruled by the god of war, Mars, relentless, fearless Mars. So you go out. You only know one direction, going forward, um, and not looking back, not going backwards. And if you get too restricted, um, and fear starts creeping in too much, that can that can destroy you, like as in if Pluto was in your sign, that would completely destroy you and to rebuild you into another sense. But and that can cause, for some of you, god forbid, migraines, headaches, because you do rule the brain and the face. Like I've mentioned in the intro, if a Gemini can outtalk anyone, you can outthink anyone. And if doubts creep in way too much and destroy, that can be, air quotes, bad for an Aries. So there won't be the intensity of Pluto, but it will be something of trying to better your image for, yes, for the outside world. But again, it's going to be like a mirror type of thing. So some of you will strengthen partnerships that you already have. Um, some of you will take partnerships to the next level. Um, and yes, some of you will be breaking partnerships because of the changes you will be going through, and you will be reflecting that onto others. Um, and those partnerships that break, I always try to say this because people get scared, um, even though Aries do not get scared. It is only if there are problems. But going again, and not getting out off the subject and going forward, it is all about your image, the way you look, your attitude, your physical self. So Neptune, for the past month, has been in your sign, and you have been yearning for this image, for this profile, for an attitude. You've been dreaming about, this is the way I look. And for most of you, it might be, losing weight or gaining weight, something physical, where you're going to see challenges to that come in when Saturn steps in. And the best example I can give you that may relate is like these new weight loss pens. Just be, the restrictions you'll get is health worries, and not relying just on the advertisement, like talking to your medical health official, and they may, say no, you can't do that because of this or whatever. So that's one example of how a restriction can be. It might be like, no, this will aggravate this. You need to go the traditional way. No shortcuts. Saturn is about the straight and narrow path, and no shortcuts. That is a perfect thing to keep in mind. No shortcuts with Saturn. He will not allow it. He will block it. So if you do see blockages, if you do see start experiencing slowing down in a certain area of your life where it's about your image, that is your clue to what Saturn is trying to do. And what Saturn is trying to do is build a really strong foundation for you. And you are very competitive, so that will be challenged. Where it's okay not to win everything. It's okay to air quotes, throw a fight, like throw in the towel. And fear of failing. Saturn will be teaching you that don't fear failure, because failure actually sets you up for success. You experience what caused that. What else can I explain? Saturn will be teaching you that you can open doors much easier with being passive and not being so aggressive. And that's going to be a challenge for an Aries, because again, you are a firebrand, you are competitive, um, and you are ruled by the god of war, relentless, fearless Mars. Um, so your endless energy, with Saturn and Pluto transits, I always say finding a sport or walking can really, really help you. Swimming and all that, and that will actually build you up for this image transformation. So you can think of me as Saturn saying, yeah, incorporate walking, incorporate swimming if you can, or whatever. Um, and, you know, Aries are brutally honest. And you've had Neptune and Pisces for the past 14 years in your psyche. So you are creative, where um, if there's a need to be not as brutally honest. So, for example, like being a little diplomatic, Saturn will be teaching you that. Um, and your endless energy, Saturn might start slowing you down on that, not to frustrate you, but because there may arise a difficulty later on with just shock till you drop, for example. That's not going to help you because you might make mistakes, and so on and so forth. So that's what Saturn will be doing. I can say, yeah, it's easy, but it's not so easy for an Aries, because it is all, you rule the first house of image. There is it is going to be challenging, but I guess the good thing about this is it's not Pluto. It's not going to be complete destruction. um, um, there's a quote by Thornton wilder. He has his sun in Aries that I really like for you. Um, and it says, I quote, "I know that every good and excellent thing in the world stands moment by moment on the razor edge of danger and must be fought for." I think that's very telling of an Aries. So, you know, you are a fast thinker. You know excellent things, and you know when something is good or bad. And with standing moment by moment, you do hurry things, and you do like to go forward. Um, because standing on the razor edge, you don't want to, be cut or fall off. But it still has to be fought for. So you do want to be careful with just going head in. Um, and you're still the master of your fate, uh, but it's just switching your mind, just switching it to something else. Because in the next century, Aries will have a formidable and very, very powerful career. You will be the power brokers and authority figures in your fields. Pluto in Capricorn for the past 18 years has empowered you in that, and you're on your way to being that. And Saturn and Neptune coming into your first house of image will give you that image, and find creative ways to give you that image. But Saturn is going to be restricting you so that you don't make mistakes with that. So, for example, um, social media or online, like avatars, you um, you don't want to have people perceive the wrong persona of you. If you put in an avatar, that's not really you. Um, some cases it's okay, but in some cases, when Saturn restricts you in that, it's to your benefit. Okay. So that in the future, when your real portrait is divulged, that you don't experience some kind of people or others saying that you're a fraud, for example. So that's how Saturn will start, will try to help you with that. So some sites will be like, no, you have to have your real picture. So that can be, just a mundane example. um, and the first house is the main topic of your life. It really is. And um, yes, you can be creative with that with Neptune, but again, you have to be honest with that because of Saturn, because of other scenarios that can pop up or creep up. So being really careful, especially in this age of social media, of not portraying something that you're not. Um, um, so, excuse me, how you use your appearance to advance your goals, Aries. That's what it is. Um, let me see if I missed anything. Da, da, da. I didn't. But if there are any questions you have, feel free to leave them in the comment section. And I thought this was going to be just like a 8-9 minute thing for you, because the introduction is all about you. You really need to listen to that. But I did go into a lot more, um, because this is a big deal for you. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah. So if you have any questions, just throw them in the comments. So you might have questions like, well, what's the difference between the first house and the ascendant? Or, well, Saturn for me is in this sign. How will that be affected? Or I don't have anything in Aries, and things like that. And I'm just not going to go into this one, because that'll be just an hour just for your sign. So if you do have questions, I answer all questions, and you can leave them in the comments. And I will be talking to you soon. Take care, Aries. Hi, Taurus. Okay, Taurus, we're discussing Saturn entering Aries. And Aries is your 12th hidden house, behind the scenes, your psyche, um, creativity. Because, the 12th house can be a creative house, the past, dreams, maybe taking care of someone, mm, confining spaces, um, and just your psyche. So we've had Neptune enter Aries the past month, and your dreams might have been vivid, or you've been maybe working behind the scenes on something. Um, are probably enjoying being alone, and introspecting and all that. So, how will Saturn, the planet of obligations, restrictions, boundaries, constrictions, teaching, rules, um, entering Aries, how will that affect you? And that might be like what an oxymoron, but it really isn't. First of all, the intro really gives you a lot of background information and tools to know what is going on. So I really do suggest that you listen to the intro. It'll give you another layer, another perspective. But how this will probably manifest for most Taurians is, well, Taurus, you're a fixed sign, and you rule the second house of job, income, and value system. You do take a long time to be convinced about something, and you are all about responsibility. You like the tried and true. You hate that abrupt shifts that happen beneath your feet. You can't have that, because a lot of people depend on you, and you liked coming through on that. However, you've had Uranus in your sign the past 6 7 years, breaking you free of of the way that you restrict yourself. Okay, of what people expect of you, and it has shaken up your world, where it has shaken up partnerships, or friends, and other things in your life, and you've you've probably yearned for some stability, because Uranus is the planet of shock and surprise. It's a roller coaster ride with Uranus. So dependable, low key, um, mellow mannered Taurians have found themselves being like, changing on a dime, getting really angry at one moment and then just being like, oh wait, what just happened, or doing something out of the complete ordinary. And you've probably yearned for some stability here. But the irony now will be that um, that you'll want to break free of that, and that's what Neptune in Aries has probably been doing in the past month for you, making you yearn or idealize being this strong, independent, competitive Taurus, being more selfish, um, and um, and yeah, rocking the boat in that. Again, if you listen to the intro, you'll understand the characteristics of Aries, and that is your hidden psyche. That is your mind. You are fiercely competitive. You are driven. Uh, you you yearn to break free, um, and that has built this desire in you for the past month or so. Saturn is coming in really early on into Aries, not like before with Pisces. Neptune was in Pisces since 2012 for 12 long years before Saturn came in the last 2.5 years and started putting up some boundaries and started building foundations. Here with Aries, Saturn is going to come in early on. And again, it's all in the intro, and you'll understand the reasoning if you listen to the intro. But going back to what Uranus has lit up in you in regards to changing on a dime, and people actually, your appearance has changed, and that can be as mundane as um, getting older, or having a child, and your physical body has changed or whatever, or just maturing. But um, Saturn is going to not work against you, because you're it's like it's not going to be a square or an opposition to your sign. It's going to be a sextile, some semi-sextile, I think. So it's going to be a very supportive aspect. And since you are a very cautious person, you like to move forward with guarantees. um, you're the opposite of Scorpio. So you're an opposite sign to that. In astrology, we say Taurus takes in and Scorpio discards. So you like to have security is the main thing. And with Uranus shaking up that security, you've probably again longed for stability. But the irony now is that you know um, um, yeah, sometimes it's good to be um, not on stable ground, or not to have people constantly depend on me. And Saturn will help you build foundations so that your psyche can feel stable, um, but um, that you can be this independent, confident rebel rouser, with within boundaries. Because if you listen to the intro, it explains what Saturn's energies are, and they are, in regards to rules, restrictions, patience, a lot of patience, and truth, learning. Saturn does not like lies or deception. Absolutely will not stand for it. So he's going to be clearing out that closet, that dark closet that you throw everything in, and lock the door. He's going to be opening that door and clearing out that closet so that you become decluttered in your psyche, in your mind. So anything in the past, if you need to face it and come to terms with it, that's what Saturn will be helping you to do. So you might pick up the phone to maybe an estranged friend and say, you know what, um, I, I I did lie to you in that aspect, but it was because of this and that. That's just one small example. But what that relieves you of, is of that image that, you might have been a victim, because Aries does not do victim. They don't like being a victim of anything. So you might be, owning up to something and putting that truth out, or um, of saying, uh, it was this person that was, a factor in me being, irresponsible, because I'm not that way. But Saturn will show you that you were, maybe a participant in that, and why you covered it up, or why you, maybe didn't take full responsibility for it. And that will really clear out your mind, and make you clutter free, to move forward, with, a clear headspace. Because with you, you have a lot of things going on, with routines, schedules, health and physical stuff. So if your psyche is cluttered, it will manifest in, God forbid, health being down and out. um, and vice versa. If you're not taking care of yourself physically, that can really, again, God forbid, put you in a mental state that's not healthy. So it is all about the image and the appearance of. That's what Aries rules. It's the first house of image, but it is in your psyche. And Saturn will come in and clear this out for you to build you a strong foundation, so that you can buoy off, um, of making changes, to once Uranus leaves your sign, and that area of your life, of your first house of image, stabilizes. It is about having a healthy psyche going forward. And it does take, Saturn takes 2.5 years to transit each sign. And the first year is usually the hardest. The second year is about rebuilding. And the last 6 months of it is about, meshing everything together. Again, it is in the intro. I'm not going to be repeating that here, but I just wanted to let you know that, Aries is your 12th house of the psyche, of the past, um, of dreams, visions, confining spaces. So Neptune has been here for the past month, giving you an escape. It's feeling like a vacation. But Neptune also is the god of ocean, fogs, sirens' calls, and deception and illusion. It softens the edges. Which is fine. There is a purpose to that, but you can't be disillusioned too much, because it'll affect your physical reality, your real world. And that's what Saturn is going to help you, rein in, this dreamscape world, that you've been on for the past month, and maybe, uh, had this desire, this yearning that started. He's going to put in these boundaries, and give you an anchor to throw if you get too lost at sea, searching for that siren, with her calls. He's going to build you a really strong structure, foundational structure, so that Neptune doesn't wash away, it doesn't shift the sands underneath you. Saturn's going to put in boundaries, so that, the ocean doesn't wipe them away with others, treading on those boundaries. So yeah, you're going to you're going to be it is going to affect you, because it is your psyche, but it will affect you internally, uh, and it'll start, um, getting portrayed outwardly to others, maybe later on in the year. But in the first part is going to be internal, and you partner Taurians, your partners, a lot of people depend on you: family, partners, bosses, children, and all that. And having being in your headspace, um, and pulling away, um, might affect some relationships. So you need to be aware of that, and Saturn will be making you aware of that, so that you can explain it to others, um, and they can take this journey with you. Most of you will want to take this journey alone, because again, it's your 12th hidden house. But Saturn will put in rules and restrictions and boundaries, because if you drift too much alone into your psyche, you'll lose relationships. And this is not to scare you. You need to go through this journey. You cannot love anyone if you don't love yourself, and Saturn will be helping you with that. He's going to be helping with you not getting uh, too drifting away too far away from these relationships that you value. And it is going to have something to do, definitely, about the appearance that of you wanting to be alone, because it's about image, um, or looking mysterious. And also it is going to have to do with something about values and money that's going to be playing out in the background. If it has to do with a job or anything like that, you might be in some creative field that you might be getting into entertainment or music industry, or maybe even the makeup or arts, something like that. But Saturn's going to again help you with these boundaries and rules, so that you don't, for example, if it's some kind of a creative project, so that you don't just waste too much time on researching, because then you'll end up missing deadlines and things like that. It can play out in a lot of ways, but just to let you know, it is about your psyche and your hidden world. If you have any questions, as I mentioned in the intro, there may be questions about this or that or this, and I didn't want to go over that in this video, because just the introduction would be an hour long. But if you listen to the introduction, and if any of those questions that I brought up, that you might say, yeah, I want to know about that, put them in the comments. I answer all questions, and any concerns you have. Otherwise, I will be talking to you soon. Take care, Taurus. Hi, Gemini. Okay, so this is your video for Saturn in Aries, which will be a 2.5 year transit. Saturn will be entering Aries in the next few days. And Aries is your 11th house of friends, a friend, groups, associations, memberships. It is also the house of your hopes, visions, dreams, of how you want to be seen amongst these people. So please listen to the intro, because I'm not going to go into detail regarding the Saturn and Aries energies and all that. The intro really will help you get the background noise, the background detail, the theme. It'll just give you more information. But sorry about that. But suffice it to say, is actually this transit for you, you will not, air quotes, suffer, because Saturn is associated with rules, restrictions, boundaries, constrictions, and all that. However, it is a sextile to your sign, so sextiles are supportive energies, and Aries is a fire sign, works really well with air. It can be very supportive. So think of, like, a hot air balloon, with that fire bursting into the balloon. It takes you higher and higher and higher. So this will actually be very, very exciting for you. Um, Learning will not be, will be, you will not expect to be learning something like this through fun. It's going to be very fun and uplifting for you. But nonetheless, it will be a learning experience. Saturn wants foundations, and wants you to work within rules and boundaries. So, for some or most Geminis, how this will probably manifest is that you are coming into an age where you might be a parent now, or you might be an uncle or an aunt, dealing with nieces or nephews or cousins that are coming of age. But yeah, no, normally you'll be older than them, um, or it may be a group or a membership or friends that are younger than you. Geminis and Virgos, both ruled, by the way, by Mercury, uh, so very mercurial. But Geminis and Virgos are famous for being young, always young. They never age. If you ever see a Gemini or a Virgo, they always seem younger than their age. So how this is going to work is like you are always the cool person, the older person who's still young enough to interact with younger people. But how Saturn will manifest for you is that roles are going to be reversed, where um, where the younger people in your life, maybe again children, maybe relationships, intimate relationships, or siblings or cousins or friends, that are going to be pointing out that uh, you know like for example, your child or a child or a nephew or a niece will be like, well, you know what, you need to act more like an uncle, or a parent rather than the child. um, and that might rub you the wrong way. So that might be one challenge or obstacle. But again, it is Aries, it is a fire sign, and it is sextiling your sign, so it might be a bruise to your ego, maybe in some way. But you're ruled by Mercury. You can laugh it off, you can brush it off. But pay heed and attention to these conversations or these critiques, because it is building a foundation for you. It is telling you that you can still be young at heart, and still be responsible, and and go by the rules. Um, and it is going to have to do with the image you portray. People will be pointing out that you're portraying a certain image, and you can do better than that. And it's probably going to come from younger people. So, for example, the lessons that maybe authority figures have given you in the past, and that maybe your parents, maybe, or your own uncles or aunts or what have you, and that you listen to, but you thought that, "Oh, I'm too cool for that," or I don't want to seem like old and nagging. You're going to come to realize that those lessons, um, you're going to hear them from a different group of people. Again, this is your 11th house, and it might be younger people, it might be your friends, and because you rule the third house of siblings, cousins, and extended family, those are going to be the background noise. That's going to be the background theme. Those are the people that are going to be pointing this out to you. But again, it's a sextile, so it's going to be very supportive in building those strong foundations for you. Because in the past month, Neptune entered Aries, and you've probably started yearning, or started idealizing this image, because Aries rules the first house of image, of how you want to be seen amongst certain types of groups. And it's felt nice because you've probably had uh, firebrand people, creative firebrand people that have maybe idealized you, and you're enjoying that. It might be an escape of some sort for you. It can be that. And now with Saturn coming in, um, he's going to be making you aware of how you're acting, what your image is portraying within amongst these groups, has to be a little bit more, still fun and exciting and young and cool, but it has to be within certain boundaries and rules, because you are um, they will start emulating you. And and the weird thing is going to be, again, like I mentioned, is the perfect example will be, um, uh, if a younger person, whether it be your own child, a partner who might be, again, air quotes, young, or a friend, or a nephew, or a niece, or sibling, or a cousin, that'll be like, act your age, something like that, where you'll be like, "Ha, where did that come from?" Um, but you'll find a cool way. way of being old, because being responsible, be acting your age. Again, it's about the image. Um, and just to reiterate again, this will be a very exciting, fun, exhilarating, and uplifting journey for you. It will not be a difficult journey, and it is still, it is Saturn. It is confining. There are boundaries and rules, but it's Aries, and it's still uplifting, and it's a sextile to your sign. So again, a supportive aspect. So those are the challenges that you will be facing, and it will be to have you have strong foundations and boundaries where, um, Saturn will show you, if you're being your child's friend, that boundaries will be crossed if you're acting more like a friend rather than a parent. That child needs a parent, not as much needs a friend. But you'll find the supportive aspect of being both, uh, and portraying that image. Again, it's about image. Aries rules the first house of image, and it is in your 11th house of your hopes of how you want to be envisioned amongst these people and these groups. And since you do rule the third house, it will be probably manifesting through extended family, siblings, cousins, um, and it is still your 11th house of groups and friends. And as far as it's a 2.5 year process, so it can be inclusive of your own children or partners. So I hope I gave you an insight into that. If you have any questions, like I mentioned in the intro, you might have questions about this and about that. What if I don't have Aries? What if in my, nothing is occupied in Aries? How does that work, or whatever? That's why I'm saying listen to the intro. You can leave questions. I answer all questions. Or if you're just confused, like, what did she just say? You can definitely put them in the comments, and I will explain it further for you. But yeah, it is your 11th house. And it is a fellow fire sign. It will be uplifting. You'll have a learning curve here, and it can manifest in many ways, but it will be supportive. Um, just the weird thing will be about um, people that are not as experienced as you, giving you advice, and that might feel weird for you. You're not like Capricorn, like, "No, I'm not going to take any lessons from you." No, you're not like that. You actually love um, mercurial ideas, and Aries rules the mind. As much as you can outtalk anyone, Aries can outthink you. So it'll be very exciting for you. Geminis cannot get turned on unless their mind is turned on, and that's what Aries does. It's all about the mind. So if you have any questions, yes, please feel free to throw them in the comments, and I will answer them. Otherwise, I'll talk to you soon. Hi, Cancer. Cancer, this is a dedicated video for Saturn in Aries, for your sign. Saturn will be transiting Aries for the next 2.5 years, and Neptune has entered Aries for the past month or so, and Saturn is now coming in alongside Neptune. And both Saturn and Neptune have completely contrasting energies. And I explained that in the intro. Please listen to that, because I'm not going to go into that here. But the intro is very important, as it gives you a background story, another perspective, and tools to navigate this energy. So, Aries for you is your 10th house of career, status, your reputation, and authority figures. It's a very important house. um, for the bad news first, the bad news is Saturn will be squaring your sign, and a square is a tense aspect, and Saturn is the taskmaster. He demands you work within the rules, boundaries, and restrictions, and to have boundaries, and to keep yourself above reproach. That's the 10th house, and that's Saturn. And Saturn demands patience as well. Um, Saturn is the teacher. Again, I go through all that in the intro. But what the other thing is that you're a water sign and Aries is a fire sign, so completely opposite ways of doing things. You're a more nurturing sign. You're a more feeling sign. You absorb other people's feelings, and you approach teaching or learning from that perspective. Whereas an Aries uh, is more of a firebrand, is more combative, and more energetic. So those are the two contrasting uh, things about your two signs. However, both of you are cardinal signs, so that would be the good news. And the good news is that both of you actually do respect authority and like rules and authority figures. Again, however, you approach that through more a mellow energy, and Aries approaches more through a fire energy, more of a combative energy. So, how this may manifest? For some of you, it might manifest in the uh, sense that you may have to take a job out of necessity. Let's say, for example, where you do not agree wholeheartedly with, let's say, the brand that this company is projecting, because Aries is all about the brand, the image. That might be it. But you might have to take this position out of necessity. And, I'd say, it's only 2.5 years. And the first year is the hardest. The second year is more rebuilding. And the last 6 months is more of meshing together. And, it'll be over. However, because it's a square, you can't go into that mindset with this, because in the end you will be learning something valuable that you will benefit from. One way it can work out is um, you might be a parent and you might have a child that is a firebrand, that is concerned about image, that may be getting into things that um, um, again, it's about the image. So maybe social media, or maybe trying out a diet fad that may be harmful or whatever. And you are going to be tasked with the responsibility of teaching that child something that's either air quotes bad or good for them. But you're going to be challenged because it's an Aries, and you're going to have to find a certain way of approaching this. And the way you're used to approaching this um, is again through maybe a nurturing aspect. But that's not, I'm not going to say that's not going to work, but Saturn is going to be challenging you in as that you have to be more tough than that. For their own good, for example. So it'll exasperate you. It'll frustrate you for some of you. Um, and yours is situation is close to a Gemini situation, but with Gemini, it's a sextile. With yours, is it's a square, and that's only because the modality. You're a water sign. Um, Gemini is an air sign, and Aries is a fire sign. So it doesn't really work well with the water energy. Otherwise, it can manifest in your parents. Maybe you have aging parents, and you might be going into um, either caring for them or maybe choosing the right kind of care for them, or what have you. And that might be challenging. You being in the authority position, clashing with your parents who are in an authority position, and it can manifest that way. Or it can be a boss, or it can be like I don't know if I mentioned this, but it can be a boss's boss, and you might be tasked with training people or somebody, and uh, your boss is maybe you might get into clashes with your bosses on how to administer this training session, and their bosses are coming down on them for some reason. But by the end of this journey, you will have learned when to apply your type of nurturing attitude and when to be the tough uh, boss. And because it's your 10th house of authority figures and career, by the end of this transit, a door will open up for you, or maybe several doors for your career and status. It This can also manifest in your current partner, where you two might be at loggerheads on dealing with, let's say, disciplining or nurturing a child. Again, it can be that clash, uh, and you're going to have to be responsible for not undermining your partner's authority, but also trying to work within these boundaries of how do you discipline and nurture the child your way. So it can be those loggerheads, or it can be if you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a fiance, it, again, and they or you are in some type of an authority um, position, and you come to loggerheads on how you want to appear to others. Again, Aries is about the image because it's about the first house. And for many of you, again, it's Saturn. It doesn't want to destroy. It'll just build a really strong foundation so you guys can take it to the next level. For some of you, yes, it might uh, break a partnership up because Saturn demands that you are truthful with yourself and others. Saturn does not stand for any lies or deception. Under a Saturn transit, any lies or deception do are revealed, do come up to the forefront. And Saturn asks you, is this what you want? Um, the other thing is you need to keep yourself above reproach. That's the whole thing about the 10th house. Um, um, because it concerns your status and your reputation. So you don't want to uh, be pigeonholed in some ideology, and then having to be judged and to be prodded and about that. So you need to be careful with your reputation and your status. The other thing is, um, as far as training, you might get tasked with, let's say you're in law enforcement and you have a new cadet, let's say, or in the military, whatever. You're going to have to train this person. And this person might be, again, um, very energetic, very resilient, a go getter, great qualities, but they're not slow and methodical like you may be. And you're going to have to train them. And that's where the restriction comes in with Saturn. You're going to have this responsibility and you won't be able to back out of it. And you're going to have to apply that training with being a little bit more tough, let's say, so that they can graduate and so that you can earn, let's say, the benefits of having trained someone well. And the intensity comes in with naturally, if it's in law enforcement, you don't want to train someone the wrong way and their life or other lives might be in danger, God forbid, or the military. So I'm trying to describe the tense aspect that you will be tasked with, that you will not be able to withdraw from. It'll be some kind of a responsibility. And take your time, because that's what Saturn teaches. It teaches patience and time. Rome was not built in a day. It takes time to learn something and to teach something. So yeah, parents, bosses of bosses, subordinates, um, partners, children, all that is they're going to come up, and you're going to have to be responsible somehow, and with seeing something through and keeping yourself above reproach because there's an image concern. It's Aries. Aries rules the first house of image. All right, so that's how it's going to manifest for you. There'll be a lot more scenarios. Jupiter is coming into your sign in July for the next year, so you're going to be out front and center. Jupiter is going to put you out in front of everyone. So a lot of people will be coming out of the woodwork to needing your help, needing your direction. And you're going to have Saturn squaring your sign in Aries and demanding you keep yourself, above reproach and working within rules and restrictions. So you can't be doing any favoritisms. Saturn doesn't like that either. So there's a many scenarios it can work out, but that's what you'll be experiencing. And in the intro again, I've thrown up some dates of the past where Saturn has been in Aries, and you can look at that, and that may help trigger a memory of what your challenges were, what your obstacles were. So look at those dates and listen to the intro to give you another perspective. If you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the comment section. I answer all questions. All right, take care of yourselves, Cancer. This will be over with soon. Hi, Leo. Okay, Leo, this is a dedicated video for the Saturn in Aries transit for the next 2.5 years. Aries is your ninth house of foreigners, foreign lands, higher education, philosophy, long distance travel, publishing, and the World Wide Web. And uh, for you, it's good news. There's no bad news here. Thank God. You're dealing with Pluto in Aquarius, with powerful partners and controls and power plays. This is not going to be that. This is going to be very beneficial. Saturn is actually trining your sign, and trines are soft aspects. Sextiles are supportive aspects, but this is a trine. This is a very feel good transit, and Aries is a fellow fire sign for you. So this is going to feel very yeah, supportive, and it's going to mesh. This energy is going to mesh with yours very much so. The intro, please listen to the intro, because it does give you a background story, another perspective, a layer of another perspective, and it also gives you tools on how to, you'll understand what this is about, and it'll give you the means, the tools to use throughout this 2.5 year journey. But basically, again, it's very supportive, very nice. However, it's still Saturn. There's still going to be some rules, restrictions, constrictions, boundaries, and having to work within those rules, restrictions, and boundaries. Um, um, and there's going to be a learning curve here as well, but it won't be tense like a square is, like what Cancer will be dealing with. Yours will be actually a fun journey of learning, but there's still going to be some learning to do. Leo, you are ruled by the sun, so you are extremely confident. And what this is, things that have come easily for you, just like an Aries, things that have come easily for you will be challenged. But again, not in a tense way. It'll be of an exciting new way to learn, and you'll see results right away. Uh, so, you are the golden child of the Zodiac. And if you look back on your life, you were the one who was always praised and put out front, and that gave you a lot of confidence, where challenges and obstacles were like just a flick off your shoulder, because you had knowledge that put you above others. And now it's going to be, you're going to be stepping into this new world, maybe of foreigners, maybe of higher education, uh, maybe of a travel, maybe for a job or for a relationship, but it's going to be exciting. Again, it's a fire sign, and it's about an image that you will be portraying, but it'll be something new. It might be, you might be going into publishing. So what I'm trying to say is, what you were always good at in your youth, or your, up to now, youth, middle age, even in your older age, but up to now, and now going forward, you're going to go into this new world. That challenge will be having to prove yourself again in this area. And that's one thing that Leo's not, you guys are do like authority and work within authority, just like an Aries, but Aries likes to do things their own way, and you're going to have to learn. Maybe the challenge will be of dealing with somebody younger, or somebody foreign, or maybe even a professor or something, that you're going to have to, yeah, prove yourself all over again. And I can just, hear a Leo, because Leos are like, my reputation precedes me. Before I enter, it's just my aura. They should know who I am already. What do you mean prove myself? But that's what, Saturn is about. That these people don't know you, or this situation uh, works in another way, and you're going to have to find your space within this. It might be publishing. You might have never gone into publishing, and there might be a really great opportunity for you to do so. And you might, because Saturn is about responsibility, so you might, let's say a publisher might approach you and say, you've had this experience, and we'd really love for you to publish something about that. Of course, they're looking at the dollar figures that they'll make off of you. You're not looking at that. You're looking at something else. and explaining your, let's say, your experiences, and it's valuable. However, you might, your first draft might come back to you from the publisher with almost one third crossed out and say change this, change that, and that might rub you the wrong way. However, you've already taken the advance, so you have to make these changes, otherwise it won't get published. And that's where the responsibility is, and that's one scenario it can work. I'm just, I'm not saying that it may. I'm just trying to give you an example of the responsibility and having to prove yourself in this new world. Higher education, speaks for itself. You might have your own ideology of, let's say, politics or religion or the arts, and that's valuable. But in order to get this degree that you want or certification, you're going to have to prove yourself. But again, it's Aries, it's a trine, so it's going to be nice, it's going to be fun, it's going to be exciting, but it's going to come with responsibilities. If it is about your children, or maybe a partner, or maybe a boss, or maybe a subordinate, again, you're going to be challenged um, to work within these new maybe trends. With the age gap, for example, children. But some of the challenging aspects may be, well, that was then, this is now, and how do you prove yourself? It's not that what you've experienced in life doesn't matter anymore. No, that's not it. It's just having to come up to speed on these new things. So it might have to do with electronics and things like that. But you're up to the task, and ready to do that. Um, the other thing, it might be learning a new language, and you might already speak several languages, but because of maybe a job placement in your relocation, or something like that, you might have to learn a new language to, again, prove something about yourself, um, that you understand. And that might be where the challenge is. um, um, or a long distance travel, um, learning the social norms and proving yourself in that aspect. Uh, but it's something new that you're coming into, that is, that has something to do with image, because Aries does rule the first house of image. Again, please listen to the intro; it does explain a lot about that. But it might be something new that um, you haven't really done, but you're the right type of person to do it. Uh, um, but there's something of a learning here that has to be done. Uh, so you can. I always think of, like, for example, Ron Howard. I don't know if you guys know him. You know that Andy Griffith show. Andy Griffith was like the town sheriff, and his son was Ron Howard. Opie. His name was Opie. So he was a child actor, but then later on in life, he reinvented himself, not in acting, but in being a producer, a director, or what have you. So that would be a perfect example of reinventing, and proving yourself all over again. And it will come easy. It will be very nice, exciting, and supportive, because it is a trine to your sign. So, because many of you have, for the past maybe 2, 3 years, and especially with this last fall, with Pluto coming in opposition to your sign, but with the last 2, 3 years, with Saturn being in Pisces in your eighth house of intensity and, excuse me, taboo subjects and joint finances, it has been a real struggle, where you have been feeling that you are not being heard, you are not being seen. Um, and of course, with Pluto and Aquarius, this power play and control issues, and as far as partners are concerned, for a lot of you, it's like nothing you say. I'm laughing with you, Leo. Can make it right, and that has been very frustrating. Let alone the past 2.5 years with uh, Saturn being in a very intense um, eighth house, um, of how other people value you, and like I mentioned, taboo subjects and joint finances and government or benefits or taxes. It's been quite a rough ride. And Pisces is a water energy, does not mesh well with your energy. Uh, but the Pluto and Aquarius, I promise, will be getting better and better. It'll be much more. It'll be very uplifting, because it's an air energy and you're a fire energy. But it's still Pluto, and it is your opposite seventh house. So powerful control power plays. But this is a nice transit for you, Leo. Very nice transit, but it will involve some kind of a responsibility uh, to learn something in this new and exciting adventure that you'll be going on. And it will be very uplifting, very exciting for you. Just it is Saturn and it is Aries. You might be dealing with um, something about a younger generation will be playing out in the background. And again, it might be your own children, or it might be a younger partner. Someone of a firebrand or something like that. But the concern of image is in front of mind. And the other thing about Saturn is you have to be honest with how you've handled things in the past, and how you will be going forward. Because Neptune is in Aries as well. And Neptune, rules all kinds of illusions and fantasies and yearnings and desires, idealism. So that's your ninth house. Again, same area of your life that has been for the past month or so dreamy, maybe an escape for you. Maybe, um, you've met a foreigner, or you've had these, you're graduating and you're just going to do maybe a year research or something in a foreign land. It can work out in many different ways. But for the past month, with Neptune being in Aries, it's been some sort of an escape, some sort of a feel good. But now Saturn is coming in with reality checks, with something that you need to learn in order to grow here. Um, but it'll be um, it'll be an exciting adventure. It'll be an exciting responsibility. You will embrace this because it's trining your sign. So it's good. Um, yeah, finally, right, Leo? At least one thing will work will work out. But no. So that's what it is. But please listen to the forward. It is important. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. I answer all questions. Take care, Leo. Hi, Virgo. Okay, Virgo, this is a dedicated video for Saturn entering Aries in a few days. And I do have an intro in the beginning of the video, and I do give you some dates for when Saturn was in Aries. So you can look at those dates and see what challenges or obstacles and what you learned from them if you're old enough. And I also give you, of course, a background story. I explain the energies and and the perspectives, and I give you some tools to use for this 2.5 year journey that you'll have with Saturn being in Aries. Aries is your eighth house of joint finances, the mortgage, um, intimacy, like true intimacy. It can be sex, but it's about being. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, that scared. That scared me. That's my pug. I apologize. There. um, this other dog, this neighbor's dog, that he does not get along with, just walked. Oh yes, I'm sorry, baby. Um, he just saw him and he went ballistic. Oh my god, that scared me. Sorry. So Aries is your eighth house of joint finances, intimacy, sex, the taboo, the mortgage, government benefits, taxes, credits, loans, banking, the past, transformation, secrets. It's a very intense house. It's about inheritances and all that. It's a very transformational house as well. So that's what Aries stands for you. Now, in the past month, you've had Neptune here because Neptune left Pisces in your seventh house and now has entered the eighth house. And you've had this maybe intensity in diving deeper into this house, maybe about intimacy or the taboo. Otherwise, it can be about joint finances and having some kind of a yearning or desire, maybe for intimacy as well. And you've been also dealing with something of government benefits or taxes or credits or loans. There is something going on with money. This is one of the money access houses. The eighth house is also the house of how other people value you and how you benefit from other people's money, usually in lump sums. So there's been this kind of no boundary deal that's been going on with this. Now we're going to have Saturn come into Aries, and you're going to be experiencing some kinds of rules, restrictions, boundaries set up, and you're going to be learning something here. Um, So let me just take one aspect of it to explain what it can maybe how it can manifest with Virgos. Virgo, you are a fix-it sign. You really find your aura, your resolve, your enthusiasm in trying to fix something. You're ruled by Mercury and the higher octave of Mercury, let alone. So you are able to just hone in on some people can't see the forest from the trees. You're able to see the entire forest, and able, even with the trees, you're able to analytically line up each tree. So you're very mercurial in that, and you're able to say this is what needs to be done to for this in order to be fixed. Very pragmatic. You're invaluable, absolutely invaluable to authority figures and people who need help in distinguishing from two things. So that's what you have been yearning for, and as far as the eighth house, and you can see where the problems are, and you're trying to set up something, or you've been working on setting something up to fix something, um, which is fine. But Saturn is going to come in here and throw up some obstacles for you. Why? I myself call Saturn the party pooper. So I'm on your side, especially with what's been going on with your seventh house. I'm on your side, yes. But Saturn is very, very beneficial. Why is he going to throw up these obstacles and these restrictions and make you put up boundaries? Because you're going to be experiencing something that you're not going to be able to fix um, in this eighth house. And that is very, very difficult for Virgo. I mean, you can be pragmatic and say, yeah, this is not fixable. Throw it out. It doesn't work, and go on with this. Of course, you're smart. You can do that. Yes, but there's something that some kind of a responsibility that is going to be above you with Saturn. Saturn doesn't let you um, throw it out. You're going to have to deal with it. So that's where the quandary is, and that's where your sign is with Aries. It's between like a trine and a tense aspect. You're caught in the middle. So you're going to be caught in the middle of um, acknowledging and knowing that there's this problem, but um, you're not going to be able to cut out and throw away that problem or just leave that responsibility. Saturn is going to make you stay within these two and deal with it. And what you're going to be learning is that um, I mean, you already know there's a problem, and then you're already going to know that you can't fix this problem, but you're not going to be able to withdraw. So what a quandary. And that's where your sign lies between these two aspects. It is a quandary. It is a sandwiching. And what you're going to be learning is it's okay not to drive forward um, to get something fixed. It is okay to take a break, because uh, many Virgos get on a challenge and they're workaholics. They'll continue going forward because they know there's a way out. Either way, but what you're going to be learning with Saturn, that it's okay to step back, to take a sabbatical, to not burn the candle at both ends. And when you approach it after that, you come up with a fresh perspective where you're able to, again, maybe not necessarily solve things, but accept that you cannot solve things. And that's where the learning thing is, because you have to remember too, Pluto is in Aquarius, and you're um, sixth house of health, habits, routines, scheduling, research, and taking care of someone. So you already have experienced a couple of wake up calls regarding health, regarding taking care of someone, or a routine or a schedule, burning the candle at both ends, and what is that doing to your health or your psyche? So that's playing out in the background, and Saturn here is supporting Pluto in some instances as well. And as far as teaching you, it's okay to let go of something you can't fix, uh, because your mental state of mind, your mercurial mind, um, and with Aries, relentless, fearless, going ahead, might, God forbid, work in, some kind of physical ailment. Your body and your mind has to be, and you know this more than anyone. You're the health guru. You're the yoga person. You eating the right kind of foods. So you know what it takes to have a healthy body and a healthy mind. Uh, but you're a perfectionist, and that's what Saturn is going to be teaching you. Is that you can't juggle many things at the same time. So, for example, I know those are like it's like generalized themes. So I'm trying to give you an example of how that can play out. So, if you're doing something, let's say trying to solve a problem, trying to whatever, and then you try to research, but then you just get involved way too much in the research, and you look up and it's 2 a.m. and you have to wake up at 5 a.m. That's going to throw you off kilter, and that's what Saturn's going to say, is that you need to cut off your research. You've gotten enough information, and let it go and move on. That's just a really basic mundane example, but we're talking about the eighth house, and the eighth house is an intense house, and it is about money for you, for many of you, and about taking care of someone. I believe that's playing out in the background, and your own physical health and the way you appear, your image, or the image of that. The other way is it can work out is, let's say you have an elderly parent or parents, and you're tasked with their finances, handling their bills, their expenses, and all that. And you see yourself uh, coming short of something that they're short on a bill or a payment or whatever, and you decide to throw in your own funds instead of denying them something um, to make up for it. And Saturn is going to be um, making you aware of boundaries, because then you make both of you and them, for example, just as an example, um, on a losing end, instead of just one party at a losing end and you in a stronger footing, or vice versa. And how do you deal with that? I'm not telling you how to deal with that. I'm just saying that's how one way it might work out, and you'll be learning those ropes. It might be that you get really interested in taboo subjects now, um, uh, intimacy or what have you, and you may be doing research or experimenting here, um, and it might be within your own psyche, but Saturn is going to come in. And again, Saturn, Neptune is about erasing these boundaries and drifting you off in this fog, in this ocean where you can't navigate, and you keep hearing these sirens, and you get lost and you lose yourself. And Saturn is going to come in and throw you an anchor and pull you back to shore and say, experimenting is fine, being interested is fine, but don't take it too far, because these are the consequences. Just as an example, um, it might be with government benefits. There might be some rules and restrictions, like yes, you're able to get this, but is it setting you up for something bad? And is there a middle ground? Um, is it I'm not saying you guys are liars, or you'll be cheating on your taxes or something, but you're going to be caught in this quandary. um, that's what because it's a quincunx between you and Aries, so it's an in between. It's between a positive aspect and a tense aspect, and you're going to be caught in the middle. And that's what your experiences will be here with the eighth house. Just be really careful with managing other people's money, and going into like deep experiments with the taboo. Just be careful with that, and of course, any taxes or government benefits, you want to stay on top of those. And I'll have more to say that on this transit in the future, but that is what is the general theme. All right, Virgo, if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the comments. I answer all questions. Talk to you soon. Hi, Libra. Libra, this is a dedicated video for Saturn entering Aries in a few days. Um, Aries is your opposite sign. It is the seventh house of partnerships, business, platonic, um, definitely personal. But anyone who knows you really, really well can be considered a partner. So a mother can be a partner, a son can be a partner, a nephew, an uncle, but it is about partners. And it is also the house of open enemies. Um, so you're in a position, this is this is a really good and frustrating position that you'll be in with Saturn being opposite your sign. Now, Neptune has entered Aries in the past month or so, and you've had this yearning, this idealism or desire of some kind of a partnership, even if you are partnered, or if you know are engaged or you're steady with someone. It's been an escape or an idealism. Maybe you've put a partner on some sort of a pedestal or something like that, or it might be just in your psyche. Um, but there's something that's not within your reach as well, because it's Neptune. Neptune is illusory. And please listen to the intro because it does give you the background story, a different perspective, a general perspective, and also it gives you tools on how to navigate the next 2.5 years as well. In the intro, I do have Saturn and Aries in history, and then the recent history. So if you're old enough, you can remember those times and try to remember what challenges or obstacles you've had. But for most of you, it'll be your partners will be in some kind of a quandary where you're going to try to help them or be with them in some aspect. And I should do a Neptune and Aries video as well. I did explain it, I believe, in last month's um, or maybe the month before. I'll throw up a link in the comment section where I mentioned Neptune and Aries. But um, so yeah, it's been some sort of a dreamscape, a yearning, a desire for whatever it is about a partnership that you're currently involved in or you want. And Saturn is coming in now, early on, and putting up some rules, restrictions, constrictions, boundaries, definitely, and something for you to learn here. And it's good that it's coming in this early because if you don't want to be where Virgos were, poor things, when Neptune entered Pisces in their seventh house for 12 long years, um, until Saturn, came in 2 years and a half ago and put in reality checks. You don't want to be chasing a dream for 12 years before you have constructive Saturn come in and build strong foundations. You're in a very good place where Saturn is coming in early and giving you wake up calls and signs, and giving you an anchor to weight yourself down so that you don't get swept in the ocean of Neptune and partnerships. So, I'm not going to lie, it's going to be an opposition is a tough aspect. Your partners are going to be opposing you and opposing the idea of a partnership. But that'll build some strong foundation for you. And it's only for the next 2.5 years. Some of you will be like, 2.5 years? Are you crazy, woman? But Neptune will be in your seventh house, giving you escapes for the next 14 years. So right in the beginning, you're going to have these oppositions, and so that you can build strong foundations with partners. What it'll teach you, more importantly, what I want to discuss is what it'll teach you is partnerships are great, yes, and you know that very well because you rule partnerships. But there has to be a balance, as you very well know. Uh, but with Neptune erasing boundaries in your partnership house, there's a fear of you giving too much of yourself to a partnership and getting stepped over, or a partner never being able to commit, and you just continuously trying to hold that slippery fish, get it, Neptune, ocean. And Saturn is going to put these rules, boundaries, and restrictions so that you don't continuously chase a dream and you don't give too much of yourself, that you leave something for yourself so that you can be on equal footing. Now, this does not mean that a partnership, maybe you're, boyfriend, girlfriend right now, you're steady, or maybe you're engaged and you've set the date. It doesn't mean that this is not going to work out because of Saturn coming in here and being, the party pooper. No, it is going to, Saturn will actually have you keep this partnership, but on a stronger footing, where in the future, you're not susceptible to being unfulfilled with a partnership, because you are all about the scales. What's good for you should be good for the other person, and that's what you'll be learning through, at times, through distance from a partner, because it's opposite your sign. So Saturn and Aries is about the pioneer, the one who moves forward and ahead, um, to battle demons and whatever, to tread new ground for all of us. So there is some sort of a loneliness with Aries, where they're alone going forward into new frontier. So that's how Saturn will manifest this for you. There will be at times where you are within a partnership, but you'll feel alone, and that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, because it gives you perspective. Saturn will say, uh, okay, at times there will be this loneliness, this aloneness. Are you able to handle this? Are you able to do this? And it's through these trials and tribulations that you and a partner figure out whether this relationship is for you or not. And yes, for some of you, you're not going to be wanting that. Some partnerships will dissolve, but it's because in the long run, it's not good for you. Because in the long run, even being with a partner, that particular partnership is going to make you end up feeling more alone with than with being with someone. Or it might be that a partner, or you, it takes, let's say, a position that they have to be out of the house for long periods of time, uh, maybe months or years. It can be military, and you don't see them for a couple of years. Or it can be someone who's a consultant and flies all over the world or the nation, and you get maybe one good week of quality time. Or it can be a myriad of scenarios. But what Saturn will be introducing is this type of uh, being alone and maybe lonely, so that you can get this perspective. And for some of you, that'll even emphasize more of your love for one another. Distance makes the heart grow fonder. It can manifest in that way. And again, this is not only about personal relationships. This is about business and platonic relationships, and how you'll figure this out. Open enemies. The saying about keep your enemies close, so that you know what's going on with them. And maybe that's the challenge you might have. Or it might be that partners are not listening to what you have to say. Or it can manifest into that. But by the end of this transit, especially the first year of Saturn is usually the hardest. The second year is the rebuilding, or the bond that forms. And then the zero point 0.5 years, 6 months after, is where everything meshes together. And I explained that in the intro. But um, there might be this separation, and then getting back together, and coming back together. And it's Saturn, and it's your seventh house, getting back together where you're so strong, nothing can ever break you apart. Same goes for, if you're a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or an engagement. If you break up, or an engagement is dissolved, and everyone goes their separate ways, something, if it's written in the stars and depending on your chart, will bring you back together during this trial or tribulation, or after this time. That it's just this energy that'll pull you together strongly after the separation, and nothing can ever break you apart. For some of you, Libras, for those of you who have had problems, serious, talking about serious problems, repeat that, serious problems. Saturn coming in here will break up this relationship, because it is not beneficiary for you, neither the other person. Saturn is about fairness, um, and being honest and true. It hates deceits and lies. It will not put up with that. Any deceits, any lies will be revealed during this transit about a partner, or about you to a partner. Uh, and for those who have serious problems, it will dissolve completely and break. For others, again, it'll be the separation, that you'll get perspective and why that happened and what's going on. And there may be a chance of a reconcilement or a resolution. Um, but overall, yours is simple. It's not uh, a rocket science. It is about rules, boundaries, restrictions that you are going to have reality checks, wake up calls about a partnership, um, and how you play into that. Do you play like the strong partner, or do you play the victim, or is there give and take, or is it just being selfish, and so on and so forth? And you get that perspective when you're estranged, or when you're separated, or when you're alone. And it and I'm not saying it'll happen right away. I'm not saying there's going to be a separation. I'm just saying you actually might be within a relationship, and there might be some kind of a separation within a partnership. So, for example, you might be already married, but you might not be interacting with each other as you have been before, and that's just putting you guys in your corners so that you can see some perspective. Otherwise, for those who are committed to either engage or study and taking it to the next level, again, the challenges will be understanding what you bring to this partnership and what the other person brings into this partnership, and you will be dealing with those lessons and trials and working them out together. Saturn will sometimes force you, because it's a responsibility. Saturn rules responsibility. It'll force you to come together and bicker or communicate and fight. And then the irony is, at the end, either at the end of this transit or at the end of a fight or something, you'll laugh about it, because uh, you'll see the other point, and you'll see where you fall in, and it'll grow stronger. So that is how Saturn and Aries will manifest for most of you Librans. Again, depending on your chart and all that, and where you are in life, and what kind of a partnership is this, because it doesn't have to be necessarily a personal relationship. If you have any questions, comments, do throw them in the comment section. I answer all questions. I'll talk to you soon. Hello, Scorpio. This is a dedicated video for the Saturn coming into Aries in a few days. Um, Aries is your sixth house of health, habits, routine, scheduling, taking care of someone, small pets, and we often call it the house of chaos and gossip as well. Excuse me. I do have an intro for this video, and I urge you to listen to it, as it does give you a background story, a different layered perspective, and it gives you the tools to help you through this journey for the next 2.5 years. That's how long Saturn transits each sign. And I go through Saturn's energies as well as Neptune's energies, because Neptune has been in Aries for the past month or so. And I also give you some dates of previous Saturn in Aries. And if you're old enough, you will recall what challenges, what obstacles you may have had during that time. And they'll be the same theme, but not exactly the same, as we do have um, other planets doing other things now. But it will give you the same theme. You'll recognize those challenges. All right. So for you, Scorpio, it's actually not a bad. I'm sorry about that. It's not a bad placement at all. Um, it's almost, you're sort of in the middle of a trine and a hard aspect. So you're in between something. Uh, you have support, and then you don't have support. You have the trine, and you don't have the trine. So somewhere you're falling somewhere in the middle. And one, that's a good thing to have. It won't be as intense. Second, Saturn being in your sixth house of health, habits, and routines is actually very, very beneficial. Sorry, that's my pug. He's complaining about this squirrel that's going up the tree. And it's beneficial in the way, because this is about your health, one component of it. And and the sixth house sits opposite the 12th house. The 12th house is all about your psyche, and the sixth house is about your physical health. And you have to have an even balance between these two houses. Otherwise, if one is off, the other one will go off. Um, if you have, psychological issues, or things that um, are up in your psyche, it can, if there's tense things there, it can manifest in physical ailments. And if you have, God forbid, any physical ailments, it can really throw your psyche off. So having Saturn here, setting up um, rules, restrictions, constriction, boundaries, um, patience, time, is a good thing, because uh, if there are any, like I said, ailments, you want to be on top of that. You want to um, know that right away, because Neptune will be in Aries for the next 14 years. And again, the introduction explains Neptune's energies. And you don't want to be stuck in Neptune's energies for 14 years without some kind of a reality check. And that's what Saturn is bringing about. But again, for you, the way your sign is situated, it's not really a bad placement. And it's not a bad placement to have as well. This can be about your job or a schedule or routine that you might have picked up recently, and you might have been really gung ho about. Maybe a responsibility that has come up, uh, that you've started with. Uh, yeah, some kind of responsibility that you may have been thinking like, well, is this really what I want to do? I don't know if this is what I want to do or not. Saturn coming into Aries is actually going to keep you to this responsibility, because Saturn is about responsibility, about seeing something through. And again, it's about time and patience. The intro goes into more detail about Saturn. And you're going to be held to that responsibility. Now, how this might manifest is that it can go either way. One, it can make you feel like life is passing you by. Um, like you were about to start something, but you might have gotten not derailed, but you had to do something else, and now you're stuck with that something else, and you feel like, oh my God, life is passing me by. This is this is not what I signed up for. Um, and your modern ruler is Pluto. Your original ruler is Mars. So your need to keep on moving and keep on pushing through um, is intense. And Saturn coming in and slowing you down in your house of routine, job, or what have you, is going to feel frustrating. So that's where you're going to feel the intensity. However, if you actually take the time and be chill, be mellow, and let things fall where they may, um, you won't have as an intense time going through it. And again, like I said, it's going to be a little hard for you because you have this co-ruler Mars who wants just to keep moving forward. And also, Scorpio is a very intense sign. And if you've ever seen a scorpion, they lay still for the longest time. Um, and just when you think, they're not going to move, they move. But when they move so fast that it's startling. And that's how you work. And once you want to move and go that fast, Saturn's going to be like throwing up these boundaries. The Saturn's rings are those boundaries. He's going to slow you up. Uh, it's not because Saturn doesn't like you or doesn't want the best for you. And you might argue or try to reason that, well, I was starting this new thing. I just had to do this obligation, but I need to go. I need to do this other thing. What do you mean, slow down? No. Um, I'm laughing with you, Scorpio. But there's a rhyme and a reason for this, for the stars doing what they're doing. Everything happens for a reason, Scorpio. I'll just give you one example. Yes, you might be on this cutting edge thing that you're setting up, maybe through social media, and you see all these other people or companies or whatever doing it, and they're getting ahead, and you're like, oh, this was my idea in the beginning. I have to do this. No, I can't be slowed down. Excuse me. But the reason for the slowdown um, will be something like, it's not the time now. Because if you do what you do, if you put out what you put out in social media, yes, you might get some type of notoriety or dividend or what have you. But in the 2.5 years that Saturn is in Aries and actually trying to build this foundation for you of patience and waiting, by the end of that time is when that idea that you had will explode. It will bloom. And if you go against the grain now and put it out there, when it explodes and blooms, other, maybe even Scorpios, or others will get the benefit more than you would, because it was your original idea, or a number of you. Um, it's slowing you down, pulling you back, putting you in your place in a sort of holding position where you are in relations to Aries and Saturn and this between the trine and the tense aspect. It's called a quincunx, by the way. Um, so it's a holding pattern. Uh, where you are right now is it's in a holding pattern because what you have to offer and to do that you want to do now, if you do it later, after these 2.5 years, or towards the ending of the 2.5 years, is when it's time for it to come out for because that's when the full potential that you will benefit from. So try to think of it that in that way, because that's how it'll happen. Plus, these planets work together in conjunction. It's all mathematical. So there are other responsibilities that need your full acumen, and other planets take priority. And thus, Saturn working with other planets and putting you in this holding position to build this really strong foundation for you, so that the yearning, the desire that you've had for the past month or so since Neptune has been in Aries about a schedule or routine, or taking care of someone, or a health matter that you want to manifest, needs more than Neptune's dreamy escapism, um, needs more than Neptune's idealism. Yes, we start first with a thought, but you need to put that thought in in practicality in order to benefit from it, or make it into a brand or something like that. And to take it from thought, from Neptune, into reality, Saturn, there's steps that need to be taken in order for you to crystallize Neptune's dreams and visions. So think about, I don't know if you've ever thought about it, but I when I first got into astrology, I actually wanted to go study astronomy, like nuclear physics and the planets, and get into that. I just wasn't really good at the crazy math, and this just was an offshoot of that. So it can also manifest into something like that, where this holding pattern, this time period of waiting, something else might develop on top of what you wanted to do, that you're being restricted from doing right now, that will is a much better path. Uh, that's another example. And then, still going back to my thing about astronomy, what I noticed about the universe is everything's round. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but like all the planets are round. They go in a circular motion. The universe, the different galaxies are always round. They go in a circular motion. I mean, except for asteroids, but they still go around. And even the planets, they go in a circular motion, and they also rotate. They themselves are rotating around. Everything is round. So the saying comes, what goes around comes around. Um, your turn has not come around yet. And take advantage of this slowdown. There's a benefit here for you. It is going to put you in a much stronger position. And again, um, it is Saturn, so there's still going to be this challenging aspect to it. But the only challenging aspect is going to be getting this, maybe a chaotic routine or schedule, to a set pattern. It might be, working it out in a way where you set up your day in 8-hour routines: 8 hours for sleep, 8 hours for work, 8 hours for fun, relaxation, and entertainment. Um, and if you get that pat, you are in balance with your physical health and your mental health. If you're burning the candle at both ends, staying up till 3 a.m., getting up for work at 6 a.m., it's going to throw you off kilter. And I understand there's things that need to be done, but Saturn is going to uh, giving you really a strong foundation here. And it might have to do with some kind of a responsibility of taking care of someone, or taking care of something. And there's an image about this. There's some kind of image, either an image of you or an image of what you're doing, because Aries rules the first house of image. But I go through that as well in the intro, so you can listen to that. So actually, I would think this would be, again, the way you approach it, with seeing a slowdown as beneficial and not as something passing you by. This will be an easy transit for you, Scorpio. But if you're going to fall in the false mindset of, oh, absolutely not, this is going to slow me down, this is going to affect so much other areas of my life, that's going to be a tense aspect for you. But because remember, you also have Pluto going through Aquarius and your fourth house of home and family. And that's a very deeply emotionally rooted house. And you need time out of your schedule. And again, it's going to affect your 12th house of the psyche in the past and your sixth house of routine. You need to slow down to absorb all these revelations that are coming about. And it's going to put you in a much stronger position by the end of these 2.5 years. And I also mentioned in the intro, I break down the intensity of Saturn's energy in these 2.5 years. All right. If you have any questions, throw them in the comment sections below. I answer all questions. Other than that, I will speak to you soon. Hi, Sagittarius. Okay, Sagittarius, this is a dedicated video for Saturn entering Aries in a few days. Now, can we get a hallelujah from all the Saggies? Finally, Saturn will be leaving Pisces. It has been squaring your sign and it has really put a damper on your fire. And that is going to lift and magically lift. Ah, thank God. I am more happy for you guys than you guys are probably happy for yourselves. And some of you might say, well, oh yeah, okay, fine, but it's entering Aries. Now what? Now what kind of hardships are we going to endure? And I'm here to give you the great news that it's not going to be a square. It's actually going to trine your sign. Woo! That is going to be fantastic, Sagittarius. I am so happy for you guys. I'm happy for you and Virgos. Virgos for another reason, but for you guys especially, this is going to just that those bandages that were like had mummified you, almost put you out of the loop and out of the circle and hidden you down. And those are going to come undone. And after that dust gets out of the way, wow, you're going to beam and be on fire. It's going to be great. Aries is your fellow fire sign. And Aries is your fifth house of love, romance, children, creativity, pets, as in my pug just barking at a squirrel, and gambling. And it is, yes, casino gambling, but it is also the gamble on life. The fifth house is a fun house, a lighthearted romance house. It's the entertainment that we have. It's just a house of fun. So, and it's a fellow fire sign, so it's trining your sign. It's beyond supportive. It is a very feel good aspect. It is going to light up your fire like none other. Jupiter has been in Gemini, and that has been really great for you as well, because Gemini is an air sign and it's your partnership house, and that has been going on since last summer. Now we're going to have a fellow fire sign, and that's going to light up more of your fire, which is great. It's fantastic. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. Now, in the intro, I have put up dates for when Saturn was in Aries previously. So you can look at those dates, and the theme of any challenges or obstacles you may encounter will be the same as those dates. It will not be the exact same because planets now are doing different things than they were doing back then, as well as you're in a different timeline of your life. But that gives you that. Also, the intro. I'm sorry, and I don't want to stop this. Oh, gee. Oh, I see. There's a there's a neighboring dog that he really hates. That's going by, and he's barking at it. So sorry about that. But yeah, it's gonna pass. Yeah, I understand. I know you're mad. I'm sorry, but I'm doing this. So shh. Okay. He's complaining now. Enough. All right. So getting back to the challenges, the intro also gives you a background story. It's really important that you listen to the intro. It also gives you another layer of perspective on the Saturn transit as well. It gives you tools and how to navigate your next 2.5 year journey with Saturn in Aries, because Saturn does take 2.5 years to transit each sign. But I go through all of that in the intro, as well as I describe the energy of Saturn and what to expect. And also explain a little bit on Neptune, as Neptune has been in Aries for the past month or so. So you've had this yearning, this desire in your fifth house. And Saturn is coming in early on in Aries, only after a month of Neptune being here, to put up some rules and boundaries to help you manifest and crystallize those desires that you've recently had some kind of a fire lit under you in the past month. Neptune is all about yearning, desire, escapism, dreaming about something. But it's about illusions and sometimes being illusory. So Saturn is coming in to help you build a strong foundation so you can manifest that. Now, how will that? Um, excuse me. How will Saturn in Aries be challenging? Again, I mentioned the dates previous that you can find in the intro, but if we speculate, it is, let's say, well, to describe a Sagittarius, it's most of you know that you are very, very optimistic. You are considered the luckiest sign in the zodiac because you have Jupiter, your ruling planet, setting up all kinds of luck and stuff for you. You are about the bigger picture. You really don't care about the details. Um, you're about philosophy and all that. And there's just something about your faith that is unending. And you're adventurous, independent. Um, and you can be also competitive. But you lose interest really, really fast, even with a good thing. I'm sure most of you have heard like people say, "Why did you give that up? That was excellent for you. What is wrong with you?" And there's nothing wrong with you. It's just how you were built. You are one of the signs that seeks adventure and seeks the best in everything, and then throws it back to others and say, okay, you figure out the day-to-day stuff of how to materialize this. So how you will face challenges here is you cannot throw that thing away and say, all right, it was exciting at first, and even though it's still exciting and nice and fun, but I think I don't know, I want the next exciting thing, or I'm afraid that this will get boring, or what have you. Saturn will be like, no, 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 you can't walk away from this. It's responsible. He's going to hold you responsible. Saturn is about responsibility. Saturn is about truth. Uh, he's about being true to yourself and teaching you something. He's the task master. And to crystallize anything, to manifest something out of a vision into reality, there needs to be concrete, detailed steps that need to be taken in order to do that. So, if this is a creative project, let's say, oh, I don't know, let's say you're in the nail polish industry and you're the creative director, and you have a novelty item that you want to market. But from your education or experience that introducing a novelty item in the market dies down really fast. Uh, so how do you keep that novelty item in the market, and how do you take it to the next level to make it stable? Uh, that's where you stop. You came up with that creative project, creative idea, and you're like, okay, now you guys figure out the details. You guys figure out how to take it to the next level and how to maintain it in the market. Well, that's not going to happen. It's Saturn's going to be like, or a boss maybe, or maybe this is your own business. Saturn will be like, no. You can't afford an executive assistant to take it to the next level. This is your own business, so you need to be on top of it. And this is your baby, and you're going to have to prove it to your boss. You need to figure this out in order to advance in your career or get a promotion. So that's what you'll be doing, is you'll be challenged to take that creative project to the next level. And you, you know, a lot of scenario, you'll have to do the hard work, because that's what Saturn is about. But it won't be like, ugh, boring, because it's not a sign that's not compatible to you. The hard work is Aries, your fellow fire sign, so it will be actually very fiery and exciting about the challenge you'll encounter and doing the hard work, because you'll see results right away. Okay, so you'll do the research and be like, oh, maybe I can pair this novelty item with one of our best sellers and come up with a creative project that uh, uh, links these two together so that this novelty item will stay afloat. I mean, it can be, whole number of things. Maybe we'll package it in Maybe we'll make nail polish with boyfriends' names, or what have you. It's just going to be very exciting, very challenging. But the challenging part will be like, wow, this is cool. This is exciting. I can do this, and you will be able to do this because Saturn is in a trine to your sign now. He's not squaring your sign. He's not going against you. He's not being tense. He's that confident, powerful boss that stands behind you, behind every decision you make that you might fear, because Aries is about fear of failure. But Saturn being in trine and Saturn being in Aries, to you might be the boss that'll say, who has this power, who has your back, will be like, don't fear it. You can do this because I've got your back. I'll cover for you. Um, and he'll be giving you that stability to see things through and to the end. Okay, so that's how it's going to work, which is absolutely amazing for you guys. You guys really needed to come out of the square with Saturn. Um, and it'll have to do with something about image because Aries rules the first house of image. So again, the intro goes through a lot of that. So please do listen to the intro. It gives you that background information. And as far as a lover or a romance, again, you're going, you know, like I said, Sagittarians have this tendency to get bored with something really quickly, to not see things through. So does Aries. There's something about Aries that it is lonely at the top, or handling stuff. But you're not going to be in that position. This is a trine, um, so you're going to have a lover or a romance that's going to be very supportive of you, and if you have this fear, like, well, uh, all right, you love me now, but I don't know. What about in 6 months from now, a year from now? I don't know. I need to. As soon as I see signs of boredom, or you getting bored of me, or me bored, I'm out of here. And Saturn's not going to allow you to do that. Um, it's going to be some kind of a responsibility, that you're going to have to work through, and that's where the support comes in. This a romance or a lover is going to be somewhat of a um, supportive aspect for you here. Um, whatever fear that you may have, they'll be there saying, "Don't be afraid. I'm here. I'm here for you. I'll see you through." I mean, even if there is some kind of a dissolution or what have you, it's the kind of like, I'll always have your back. I'll always be here for you. And some people may say, "Oh, yeah, they always say that, but they never follow through." They will, because it's Saturn. Saturn obligates them as well. If it's about a child, if you're yearning to have, let's say, a child, and you might not be able to have a child, or you've been struggling with that, Saturn again will be this confident authority figure that is going to help you manifest that into reality. It might be IVF, intro, I don't know how to say fertility, where they help you get pregnant, or it might be through adoption, or it might be through something else, or it might be some other way, but that's what Saturn will be. It'll be supporting that. If it's about a pet, um, you might get a really great obedient pet that you might think is, you got him because you wanted to have your house protected, but he's so mellow, and licks the mailman, and you think that he'll lick the burglar, but you'll be surprised, where he will defend you fiercely. He or she will defend you fiercely. You'll find some kind of joy in that. So yeah, so it is there. There is something about an image also, profile, that's playing out in the background. But again, please listen to the intro. It gives you more information on that. So I have nothing more to say. This is a great transit for you, Sagittarius, and I'm very, very happy for you. Uh, if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them in the comment section. Questions, I answer all questions. I will talk to you soon. I'm so excited for you. Hi, Capricorn. Capricorn, this is a dedicated video for Saturn entering Aries in a few days. Excuse me. And Aries is your fourth house of home, family, your parents, your country, your patriotism, your clan. It is a deeply rooted emotional house for you. And first off, I do have an introduction to this video in the beginning, where I do put up previous Saturn and Aries transits. So if you're old enough, you will recognize those that time, and you will recognize the challenges or obstacles you may have had. Um, uh, and the theme of it will be the same. However, it will not be exactly the same because there's other planets doing other things now, and you have support in other areas of your life. And the intro also gives you background information as well as another layer of perspective, so you can understand this but much better. And it also gives you tools on how to manage the next 2.5 years of Saturn's transit into Aries, um, because it takes Saturn every 2.5 years to transit each sign. Now, uh, first the bad news. I'm laughing with you, Capricorn. Um, but it's not like Cancer, bad news and how to deal with it for you, and one good thing. For you, it's bad news and two good things. So that's why I'm saying listen to the intro. It really helps you out a lot. But the bad news is Saturn will be squaring your sign. So that's a tense aspect. And especially it's your fourth house of emotional roots. So it can, yeah, be quite intense for you. However, the modality are the same. Aries is a cardinal sign, and I would objectively say that you are one of, I think, the most powerful cardinal sign there is. And cardinal signs are the ones who bring about change. The other good news, the other plus factor, especially for you, is that Saturn is your ruler, which is great because Saturn, being your ruler, well, one, you're very used to the energy, so it will not be as intense. It'll be very supportive. Uh, Plus, Saturn always, excuse me, always look out for your best interest and be supportive in that aspect. So this next 2.5 years will be intense for you, yes, regarding your home and family and parents, but it'll be very supportive. It'll be something of a another transformation, if you will, and cathartic healing uh, journey for you. And again, in the intro, I tell you, I break down the 2.5 years and explain the intensity and all that. But uh, how will this manifest for you? So Capricorns and Aquarians are really famous for being, even when they're children, they usually are the adults in the room with parents. Somehow Capricorns have parents that are very young or young at heart, or they try to be more of friends rather than parents to Capricorns. And being that way, Capricorn really love stability. You are the sign that rules tradition, old money, government structure, law enforcement, military, investigative things, authority. So you like that stability. You don't like the shocks, surprises, and fiery natures. You don't like drama. You don't do drama. Um, you don't appreciate people that cry about things. It's like, oh my God, will you stop with the cry? It's not doing anything for me except making me run away. So, and that's basically because, again, it goes back to your parents. Your parents might have been firebrands, or yeah, not really into responsibility, and you might have lacked that supervision and that structure that you really wanted. And why would a child want that? A child wants to eat ice cream whenever he wants to eat ice cream. Why would they want somebody holding them back from that? Uh, well, why, and especially for a Capricorn, is because they want to feel safe, that their parent is the one who's going to make everything okay for them. But what you experienced, most Capricorns, what they experienced was an unconventional way that you were parented. Um, not in a cruel way, but in like um, yeah, go make your mistakes and figure out the consequences. I don't have time for this. You might have had that kind of a parent, and um, again, it comes back to parents being young at heart or just not irresponsible. No parent is irresponsible, but you might have seen it where you might have had to take on the responsibility um, for the parent. You might have had a missing father in the picture, or an absent father, or a father that might have been working a lot, and you might have dealt with a really emotional mother. um, where you had to be that rock for that parent. And that's where you grew up fast and learned certain defensive mechanisms. So the intensity will be here revisiting that. One, it can manifest in your own children, where you might, because you're such not a strict sign, but yeah, a law-abiding sign, a traditional sign, you might catch yourself being too strict with a child, and then something triggers in your memory, like, well, I wasn't raised that way, and I turned out fine, and that gave me a lot of independence. Maybe I'm being too strict. Or it can manifest in another way. You might be too forgiving, or with a child, because of your own um, upbringing that might have been strict, where again you had to be the adult and you didn't really enjoy a childhood, and you might be fearing that for your child, like yeah, I might, I want to be a little loose with a child because I don't want them to grow up too fast. And that's where these challenges will come up, where Saturn will restrict you or constrict you to teach you something. Like, there is a benefit in growing up fast, but also in being a child at heart, because Aries is considered, even though it's the first sign of the zodiac, it's still considered like a naive baby of the zodiac. Um, with the temper tantrums and the firebrand thing, and you might be dealing with that sort of a child, and it's going to bring up these triggers. The squares, the squaring to your sign, may bring up those triggers that you will remember things in your own childhood. Again, Saturn is still your ruler, so it's going to be supportive in the aspect of controlling your emotions and understanding them, learning them, because Saturn is the taskmaster, he is the teacher. And you'll be learning something, but in a good, wholesome, constructive way. Neptune has been here in Aries for the past month or so. So you have developed or suddenly realized some kind of a yearning, a desire for this picturesque home and family type uh, of escapism. That you've been building these castles in the sky, maybe about, well, I want to be this type of a parent. I never want to burden my child with what I was burdened with. It might be that you've been dreaming of, that you've been escaping to or daydreaming of, and now Saturn is going to come in and say, uh, okay, you want to manifest that, you want to crystallize that. Well, these are the steps that need to be taken in order for you to manifest this castle in the sky, about this picture perfect family that you want, about this parent that you want to be. And it's going to take time, and it's going to take us to go back and revisit uh, uh, how that came about. Um, and most of you understand, I mean, it's your own home and family and your parents. Most of you understand um, why that has happened, why your parents, and probably mostly for you, it's probably your mother, um, why they raised you the way they raised you. Maybe it was a single mother, and she may have been a little too strict, trying to make up for that absent father. Or you may be revisiting the way you felt about your father in the picture. And that's why I'm saying it might be a tense aspect, because of that, because it's a deeply emotionally rooted house, and because it's a square. However, you have the support of your ruling planet, ruling Aries, transiting Aries, and making it seem okay. So for many of you, you'll be switching roles, where you're going to allow that inner child to come out, uh, and play its part, and the child that you smothered, and just put on the back burner when you were a child because you needed to be an adult. You're going to allow that child to come out, and for many of you, you will be, I'm doing air quote, childish maybe, and you'll discover that you'll be allowed to do that for a while, as you need to experience that to let go of that. For others, it will be being that parent again for maybe an aging parent, um, and seeing the vulnerability. Because for Capricorns, again, your parents, and especially a mother, a matriarchal figure, um, they're very strong. Somehow they're very strong in a way that you may have not understood it yet, and you will understand it now. And you might have that role again of parenting an elderly parent, and trying to figure out how to be the adult in the room again. Uh, I don't know if I'm making sense. I think most of you understand what I'm trying to say. Uh, and the second chance that you have, how do you do it? How do you handle it? Do you have to do? Oh, you have to prove yourself again. Saturn will be saying yes. You do have to prove yourself again. Uh, you do have to be compassionate. You do have to. You do. This is your responsibility. And some of you might fight it and say, I've already gone through this. I've reached this point of my life so that I can be rid of this. And Saturn just doesn't work that way. You of all people know that. Saturn is those rings around Saturn are the boundaries. They're not going to let you off the hook. They're going to be saying, yes, you need to go through this again because there's something here to be learned. Why? Because in approximately 2.5 years, you will be able to let go of any resentment, Capricorn. There, I said it. Because many of you have this resentment towards family or parents or a parent, and you've been struggling with that. And Saturn's going to put it back in your face. But again, in a supportive way, because he's your ruler, you're going to understand a deeper layer of your family life that is going to be very cathartic and very uplifting. Not at the end of the 2 years, but during the 2 years. It'll come in spurts and spats. Um, or it may work out where you're dealing with your partner's parents, and what your partner is feeling. Again, it's about emotions and facing those emotions and allowing you to face those emotions. The biggest thing about Aries is their fear of failure. And with Saturn transiting Aries, you're going to be experiencing that. Like, okay, if I do this, I might fail. So it might work out where authority figures, like maybe bosses or male figures, because Aries is a male energy. Combative authority figures might you might have this fear of failing in their eyes, fear of having something revealed about you or your image, because Aries rules the image, the first house of the image, that you might be like, oh, uh, they might think I'm a failure of some kind, or I'm fearing failure, or a vulnerability shows, and you don't want that vulnerability to show. However, Saturn, being your ruler, is going to help you uh, walk through that fire. Um, and again, you're a cardinal sign, so you'll be able to control this and internalize it, and then chew it up, and then spit it out, and poof, comes out the new you who forgives, maybe a parent or your home and family life, or forgives your compulsions, maybe, or your fears, or your failures. You're going to be facing these tough issues. It will be intense. However, it's a fire sign. It'll be quick. It'll be in spurts and spats, and it's Saturn. It's your ruler. It'll be even though it's a square, it'll be a support. With a square, it's like the energies are not the same. So Aries is a fire sign. It does things completely different, very energetic, very forward thinking, very go, 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 go. I don't have time for this. That's probably what your parents were about. And Capricorn is an earth sign. It's very stable. It wants to do things slow and methodical. And that's where the square is. But the modality, you're both cardinal signs, you're both leaders. And plus you have Saturn, your ruling planet, looking out for you in this aspect. So I don't know. I hope I didn't confuse you. It's a very touchy subject, and because it's a very emotionally deep rooted house, so I try to thread a little lightly on these subjects, and because I don't want to do any power of suggestion. Uh, and for others of you, it might be dealing with a passing away of a parent that you didn't slow down and mourn. You this time might be. I'm not predicting. Please, I'm not predicting any God forbid. I'm a Christian Orthodox. No astrologer can predict death. Only that's God's job, capital G. I'm talking about parents that you might have already lost. And again, because you're the adult in the room, you might have been not allowed yourself to mourn and been like steadfast for other people. Well, this transit is going to allow you to mourn, and you need to do that in order to let go, in order for you to be your own adult and carve out your own path. So it's something about time as well. Aries is also the sign that many say are lonely because they're the pioneers. They go out ahead of everyone else, pioneering new frontiers, and they don't want to be weighed down by anybody else with them. So they're independent, very much so. Again, that might have been a parent of yours, but you might feel loneliness during some time of this transit. Um, but knock on wood. Thank God, Pluto is not transiting your fourth house. That would be quite severe. You can ask any Libra for the past 18 years what they've gone through. Uh, because there's a difference between Pluto and Saturn. Saturn is a mini me of Pluto. However, Pluto does complete destruction, whereas Saturn sort of does a building up, a renovation, and a building up with a scaffolding. It doesn't completely destroy. So the intensity is usually the first year. And yeah, for some of you, it might not even result in that. It might be just you're going to have problems with the physical space you live in, like problem after problem, like the plumbing, like the walls, like finding out mold or mildew or lead problems. And it's just going to be frustrating in that aspect. But again, it's Saturn. He's your ruler. He's trying to build you a really strong foundation here. And then, of course, it might manifest politically because patriotism falls um, under the fourth house as well. So I think I've gone a little over the line for you guys. I'm already at almost half an hour for you, but I just wanted to take extra time because this is a very important sign, a very important house, the fourth house, and because Saturn is your ruler, and there's just an interesting aspect with the square. So if you have any questions, Capricorn, please feel free to throw them in the comments. Yeah, for most of you, I think it might have to do with the physical home because many of you will be moving. So just be careful of purchasing something permanent or moving to something. Make sure everything is in working order or that you have some kind of guarantees, warranties all in place because it's about your fourth house. All right, take care. I will talk. If you don't have any questions, I will talk to you in the next video. Hi, Aquarius. Aquarius, this is a dedicated video for when Saturn enters Aries in a few days. And Saturn will transit Aries for the next 2.5 years. That's how long Saturn transits each sign. And you've had Neptune in Aries for the past month or so. Um, and Aries for you is your third house of communication, communication devices, commuting or modes of commuting. It is the third house of siblings, cousins, extended family. It is about neighbors and neighborhood. It is about a very close community. Not when we say community, something in the mind might trigger like a larger thing, but that's not what this is. This is a very close, tight knit community. Um, some sort of a camaraderie within it. The third house also rules social media. It rules language, vision. It's your house of your need to be heard. And Aries is the first sign of the zodiac and rules the first house of the image. Uh, so I'm so sorry. In the introduction, I've put up the dates of when Saturn was in Aries previously, and you can look at those dates if you're old enough and maybe remember what challenges or obstacles that you may have gone through because Saturn is father time. He is the taskmaster. And again, in the intro I explain a lot about Saturn and about Aries, but you might recognize those challenging themes, and that's what you'll be going through or encountering, but in a different, not the exact same way, but in a different way. It'll still be about your third house, but it'll be a little different because planets now are doing something completely different than what they were doing back when the last time Saturn was transversing Aries. So two things, two good news for you. Well, three good news for you is one is Saturn will be sextiling your sign. So that is a favorable aspect. It's a supportive aspect. Whereas, uh, you're not the same signs. Aries is a fire sign, but you're an air sign. But air and fire work really, really well together. So it's a supportive. You're going to get the supportive feeling through your third house. It's another perspective that you didn't have, but that works well with your energy. And also, both energies. Aries is a male energy, and you are neutral on the male or female energy, but it's mostly male energy that's going to be working through this. Plus, the third thing is Saturn is one of your rulers, Aquarius, so you're used to Saturn's energies. So, still, Saturn is about rules, restrictions, boundaries, constrictions, about time and patience. He rules steely patience, Capricorn. Um, and working within boundaries. Truth is big on Saturn's list, as well as building really strong foundations. So, with Neptune being in Aries, there's this yearning, there's this desire, but Neptune is elusive. It's about the escapism, it's about dreams and no boundaries. So it's a good thing that Saturn is coming in early on, and it's a better thing that it's sextiling your sign, so that you're going to find supportive people that are going to help you manifest these very recent desires that you have about community, about this yearning that you've developed about community, about communication and movement, short distance travel. It's a good thing it's coming in the beginning because it wants to help you put up these boundaries where Saturn can not wash away the lines in the sand. It wants to manifest, crystallize your dreams, so that you can have your castle in the sky with a strong foundation, and Neptune is not able to shift the sands underneath. I can go on and on with the analogies. Um, but yeah, but it's true. Um, because for many of you, um, there's this endeavor that you yourself are putting trying to build um, you're trying to build some kind of a camaraderie for an adventure or an endeavor. And I think it was last month, maybe the month before, I mentioned that you might be getting into because in the US, I'm talking about in the US now that the federal government is sending back school administration back to the states. You might be getting into that, building that foundation. Um, and you might have, a desire to do that. Um, and to bring that about, Saturn will be rising up these actors in your third house to help you with that. And you might be this leader of this group, or you might be looked upon as a leader in this group, bringing these different people together. Because Pluto is in your sign currently, so you have this aura of authority about you that people look to. So yeah, you'll be experiencing supportive siblings, cousins, even if you've had problems with neighbors before. It's still Saturn. You're still going to have issues, maybe with neighbors, but there'll be like other neighbors will step in and support you, and, and support your, I'm going to do air quotes, truth. uh, but yeah, the challenge will be there. There will be challenges because it's Saturn. There will be some type of time limit, like you have to wait. But again, there's some supportive aspect. The sextile is going to be. It will not be frustrating for you. It will be like, oh, okay. I have to wait another year for this to happen, which is fine, which is great because in that year I can, maybe get a certification to be a part of this homeschooling network, or my cousin can certify within the next year, and he'll be a part of it, or she'll be a part of it. Um, if it's about a language, you might be involved with foreigners, and it might be trying to learn a language, and you might, sign up with what's that language profession, Berlitz Language Center. I know Berlitz Language Center has programs where they do like foreign students who can stay at your place for 2 or 3 months or 4 months that they're studying a language and going to Berlitz studying that language, but staying with sponsors. And maybe you can sign up for that and you learn their language while you teach them your language. It can work out like that. I mean, I know that's completely random, but we have hundreds and thousands, millions of Aquarians. One of you might pick up on that. Um, but it will be you. This community will be a very close knit community, and you'll have, even though you'll be the leader, like you'll seem like to be the leader, but you will have this some sort of autonomy of time where you can go in and out, go in almost like a consultant type of a deal. Where you can like tap in to it at any time and collaborate with whatever project you're having. If you're starting a new job and there's something for you to learn, maybe let's say you're going into logistics, import export, and somebody in your job, they're like, oh, find out if the company in Sweden does FOB, and you're like, what the hell is an FOB? But you don't want to say that because you don't want to endanger your position. You can tap on this community, and yeah, one of these people will be like, oh, that means free on board when you're importing something on a ship. It's free on board. They're going to pick up the shipment charges. I mean, just as an example, or they'll be like, well, we don't want to pay now. Tell them we'll do an LC, and you'll be like, what's an LC? And you can tap into this community and they'll be like, yeah, it's letter of credit and this is the only way you can do it, and blah blah blah. So but there's something here with this community, with the siblings, cousins, or extended family. You're working on something that you're building together, um, and even apart. There's something that where you're coming in and out. There's something of that, and timing it a certain way. There's something about timing. um, yeah, this is a really good placement for you. And I don't, and if I were to have any Saturn transit, I'd want it in my third house. Of course, there's also challenges that you might experience through social media, so be careful with what you post, because Aries does rule the image. Excuse me. um, so also, avatars or profiles, be careful with what some, you might encounter some social media where you have to post your actual picture, and you might not want to do that, so that might be a mundane challenge like that. Since it is your third house also, try not to get like a hot rodder, like a Mustang that has a really loud muffler noise, because commuting, that's part of the third house, and your neighbors are the third house, and your neighbors might be like, oh my god, you come in rolling in at 1 a.m. and with your muffler so loud, my baby's screaming. It might be that type of mundane challenge. um, or it can be with authority figures. Aries does rule, um, it is a cardinal sign, so there's authority, and it is like the strict father, not strict, but uh, yeah, pushing their children always to be competitive. So you might be dealing, you might deal with an authority figure in your third house. How can that manifest? Well, again, if it covers commuting, maybe don't rack up those speeding tickets, or if you are pulled over, be respectful and comply. Um, and you might just get away with a warning. But if you argue and whatever, you might end up getting a ticket. So be careful with your commuting, and again with your communication. I have one of those glass shelter screens, because sometimes it can manifest with uh, you dropping your phone and breaking it, and those types of obstacles. Saturn will challenge you, like, okay, what if you're you drop your phone, and you just ordered an Uber, and you drop your phone and you can't see where the Uber is anymore. How are you going to deal with that? Saturn challenges us in that way. Uh, uh, and yeah, be careful with what you post online. Um, But for the deeper meaning, for the overall meaning, it is about challenges, yes, in your third house of communication, but it is also, you do have these supportive aspects from siblings, cousins, extended family, close community, or neighbors, and you'll have challenges with them as well. But there's some type of a supporting actor for you, supporting actors for you. So it's, if I wanted Saturn to transverse any house, it would be the third house. So you will end up with a very solid foundation here. You might even end up with being a really good translator. Maybe you're doing a degree and you have 2 more years in language or something like that. All right, Aquarius, take care of yourself. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I answer all questions. Um, and if I don't hear from you, I'll talk to you in the next video. Take care. Hi, Pisces. Pisces, this is a video, a dedicated video for when Saturn enters Aries in a few days and will be in Aries for the next 2.5 years. Aries for you is your second house of job, income, and your value system, the way you value yourself. The eighth house is how other people value you. So I have an introduction that I've put up some recent Saturn and Aries transits. So you can look at those dates if you're old enough, and you'll maybe remember any obstacles or challenges that you've had in Aries in your second house. But it will not be the exact same thing because other planets are doing other things currently. But the background theme will be the same. And also, the introduction goes in the background story, gives you a background story, and gives you also another layered perspective about this transit, as well as tools on how to handle this transit. So it's important, quite important. I lately have not been doing intros because you guys don't listen to them, but with this transit, I can't avoid it. I had to do an intro because it's really important. So it would behoove you to listen to it because it does give you some tools and a more deeper understanding. So, Pisces, now this is plain and simple. It's not really complicated. I mean, it can be complicated because it's about value system, but it's not like, having the strict taskmaster Saturn transiting your partnership house or, your home and family house. This is about your second house. It's not less less intense, but it's something simple. So in the next 2.5 years, you're going to have some type of a wake up call regarding your relationship with money, regarding how you value income, how you feel your value is equitable to the income you make, about your job or what you're working. The value theme is going to be working on this. And what does that represent? What image does that represent of you? Because Aries is the first house of the image. Now, you've had Neptune transiting Aries for the past month or so. So, this is not a new subject for you in as far as a month. You've had this, some kind of a desire has been lit up in you, some kind of a yearning about a job, about income, about your value system, and um, about the image you want to portray about all of that. And Saturn is coming in right now in a few days. Uh, Early on, it's not like when Neptune came in your sign and 12 years later Saturn came in with the reality checks. Saturn is coming early on here, right after Neptune, to help you with this yearning or desire that you've been feeling about your second house, to help you manifest that or know how to go about manifesting that, to help you crystallize some kind of a desire. Saturn, again, I talk about this in the intro, but Saturn is about rules, restrictions, constrictions. It's about authority figures. It is about boundaries. Neptune washes away this line in the sand. Um, Neptune puts up then a fence. Neptune uh, is the rose illusions and rose colored glasses and elusive things. And Saturn is pragmatic, rules steely, patient Capricorn. Those rings around Saturn are boundaries. He rules all that type of stuff. And I myself call Saturn the party pooper. But he's very super beneficial if you want to realize something, if you want to manifest something, if you want to crystallize something, and especially if it has to do with values. Saturn can help you achieve that status, help you get the right job that you want, and boost your income. But Saturn has a specific way of doing things, and I touched that on in the intro. But it is through time and patience, and through learning something. And Saturn has to do also with fears and facing fears. So, for example, if you um, want to do something creative, but you fear that you will not make enough money, for example, or that you fear that you can't lose your job, but you want to start something new, Saturn rules fear. So he'll make you face those fears to be resourceful. Now, you are ruled co-ruled by Jupiter as well. Neptune is your ruler, but you are ruled by Jupiter as well. So money is not really, um, uh, not that it's not a problem for you, because you seem to be able to find money whenever you need it. For example, because Neptune, oddly enough, has something to do with money, and Jupiter is the planet of luck. So you have these two co-rulers. So money is really not a problem. Um, so you have this maybe nonchalant, for lack of a better word, relationship about money, not a very caring attitude about money. And maybe that's why, for some of you, that you see money coming in, but going out as fast as it comes in. You like money, but you don't like you don't care too much about how it's made or where it comes from or how it's done. And Saturn will be setting your feet to the fire on this subject. He wants, because Saturn also rules responsibility. So he's going to want, demand, and teach you a responsible attitude towards money, and income, and of course that can boost your own value of yourself. So some of you might get this wake up call regarding money. It'll become important somehow for you, or a job. But there's some kind of a wake up call or some kind of a fear that you may encounter. And but it's again, I don't want to put anybody, like fearful of anything. Saturn is not like Pluto. Pluto, yes, destroys things, completely destroys them, to rebuild them. So, like a phoenix rising from the ashes. So, what Sagittarians have been through with Capricorn transiting their money house was brutal. It was beyond fear. Um, some of them probably early on were homeless, jobless, and couldn't get a job. Uh, Saturn is not like that. Yes, he's like a mini me of Pluto, but he's not like that. He will he will build upon what you have. So it'll be like the building that's being renovated, and it'll have that scaffolding. So Saturn is that scaffolding. You'll have to work within that scaffolding to build up. So it's proving yourself to get the promotion. It's working on that creative project, and having in order for you to take on the next bigger, better, more paying creative project. It is about um, building up maybe your social media uh, channels so that you get monetized, but you have to go through certain criteria. That is, again, Saturn. So the criteria might be getting so many subscribers and having so many watch time hours, and you have to be creative, and you have that. You have Aquarius in your psyche. You have that genius psyche that you can be creative and take it to the next level. But yeah, Saturn will play out in like meeting those criteria before you get monetized. It can work out where um, is um, facing fears. And I know that's like a cliche word, but let me try to unpack it for you. So, facing fears, what does that mean? I mean, I've explained it with Pluto as in going into a dark room and staying still. And, we're all creatures of light. So the light at the back of our eyes will start making out objects, and then we lose that fear. How will it play out with Saturn's role of fear? Um, you might, you might get a notice that says, okay, this company is going bankrupt that you work for just as an example. I'm not saying, or with what the government is doing right now, downsizing um, some government offices, and you might be a government employee. Um, you have a new brand new mortgage, and there's that fear, like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Am I going to lose it? So you'll face that fear of Saturn will say, okay, if you lose your job, yeah, you might not make the mortgage. So what are you going to do? How are you going to pull yourself out of it? So what I'm trying to say is, at the end of this transit, you're going to come out with being somewhat of a financial guru, or some kind of a backup security plan in regards to your job, your income, or your value system. Um, so think of something like a bank account, okay? And you write out checks, but maybe your deposit is late because the company's system, maybe the power was out and it failed to transfer the money, and you didn't get the direct deposit, and you have the mortgage coming in. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Well, then for next time, you'll set up, what do they call those things? Overdraft protection. A lot of banks have that, where depending on your credit or whatever, it'll set you up with an overdraft protection where it'll pay that mortgage, and you have so many days to pay it. Um, it, it, it can be that type of facing a fear. Uh, Again, if it has to do with your job, it might be like, you really are talented and you want to start this business, but you can't do it because you're working full time. And how do you face that fear and go on to, because there's always a risk involved. um, Saturn will ask you, are you willing to face that risk? And you might, say, okay, if I budget this time, um, uh, for a few months, I'll have a cushion of not going to my 9 to 5 job for the next 3 months and starting my business, which might mean for the next 6 months or for the next year, I will not go out, eat out for 3 times a week or 4 times a week. I'll limit it to 2 times a month. It's that. It's Saturn is about time. It's about being disciplined. It's about accepting responsibility. It's about, yes, facing fear. Saturn rules fear, but what do you? It's not only about that. It just doesn't leave you cold. It's like, okay, and then what are you going to do about that? And I explained in the intro. The first year of Saturn can be intense. The second year is really the rebuilding phase, and the 6 months after that is really easy peasy. It's meshing everything together. Of course, this can result in something mundane, as having a really tough boss, a firebrand boss, because it's Aries, and he's just, he's pressured by his own bosses to have, let's say, his department have this certain image, because Aries is about image, and he may be coming hard on you guys, um, and pushing ultimatums. And and you have, and with Saturn being there again, there's something that you cannot back out of. There's these boundaries. Those rings around Saturn are boundaries. You may be unable to call in sick, let's say, for that week or for those few days, or leave this job for another job. And you have to work with this boss. It can be something mundane as that, or it can be you are applying for jobs. You may be in the future, because Saturn hasn't come in yet. You may be wanting to change jobs and applying for jobs, and you don't get the callbacks. Or like before, you might have just, the first 5 applications you put in, you got a call right away from 2 of them, or 3 of them. This time around, you might get 0 callbacks or 1 callback, and it can be that frustration. Like, why is this happening? It's whatever has come naturally and easy for you, in as far as job, income, and your value system. It's going to be challenged, and you're going to have to face something. And then Saturn will be like, all right, what are you going to do about that? And you might think of some ways, but Saturn will be saying, what it is your relationship with money, and the way you prioritize things. You have to change that, and that will naturally change everything else. So ditto for value system. And that's about it, Pisces. If you have any questions, or if I confused you at all, I apologize. But if you have any questions, throw them in the comments, and I'm more than happy to answer them. I answer all questions. All right. Other than that, if I don't hear from you, I'll talk to you in the next video. Take care.